Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 5 a.m. in Tokyo. We have another session here with great speakers from the States. Let me introduce Emily White and Olympic gold medalist Caitlin Sandeno.
Hi.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
So great to be here. Thank you.
We are so excited about having you guys. Thank you very much for joining us. So first of all, we want to know about you a little bit more. So can you introduce yourself first, Emily?
Sure. My name is Emily White. I'm a founding partner at Collective Entertainment here in New York City. We work in music and sports. We manage Caitlin, Anthony Urban, and David Marsh in the sports space, as well as some skydivers. I'm also the founder of the I Voted concert series and the author of 2 books. One is called Interning 101. The other is a long title, the music business book.
That's cool. Okay, so Caitlin.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Sandeno. I am a 2-time Olympic swimmer. I competed in the 2000 and the 2004 Olympic Games. I'm proud to say I have 1 gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze medals, but also placed 4th and 6th. Every race that I competed in, I made it to finals, so I'm pretty proud to say that. Former world record holder for the 4x200 freestyle relay. We broke the oldest world record in the history books at that time. Former American record holder, national champion, I think 10 times. Right now, I am currently DC Trident's GM, one of 10 teams in ISL, the International Swimming League, and I also released a book last summer called Golden Glow.
Thank you very much. It's really exciting. I was a swimmer myself until university in Japan, and I have some friends, who participated in Olympic Games as well. So, yeah, super excited to have you guys as one of the swimming community person. So, thank you very much. So, I think we want to start discussing and covering some topics. So this session, I want to discuss some of your sporting life with music, Emily. Since you're a swimmer as well, but also your professional career in music industry, which is really interesting and unique. So I'd like to know about your career background. How did you get involved in the music industry?
Definitely. It was my dream to work in the music industry. I'm from the middle of the United States, from a village. There's no music industry. But I found Northeastern University's music industry program, and they were a Division I school for swimming. So I worked so hard in the pool. I come from a family of swim coaches. Swim coaches don't always make a ton of money, and Northeastern's a private university. So I worked really hard, got a swimming scholarship to Northeastern, and did a lot of internships in college. Most significantly, I worked with a band called the Dresden Dolls, who actually brought me to Japan for the first time on tour years and years ago. And really grew up professionally with that band, worked at their management company. My boss at that management company left, and I went with him to work at Live Nation Artists, where the first signees were Madonna, U2, Jay-Z, and Zach Brown. That all fell apart. And so I founded my first company in 2008, where we managed music and comedy and sports. My longtime business partner left management, and we launched Collective Entertainment in 2018. And now we solely focus on music and sports.
So you started with music basically in your professional career?
That's right. Yeah, I was a music industry major at Northeastern.
That's interesting. And you were one of the South by Southwest mentoring program?
Yeah, I was supposed to speak at South by this year. It would have been my 18th South by, so an adult. So, yeah, I've been heavily involved over the years. I'm on their advisory board. I speak every year, and I've been a mentor as well.
Wow. So, we are running this event called HiVE, and we would like to be like a South by Southwest type of festival. We started from one of the conference called Sport Analytics Japan, which is focused on analytics and the data used in sport. So it's really niche field of the market, but it's kind of unique that sport analyst has really handful set of skills in sport, and also outside of sports. So we would like to promote their skill sets to expand to other social connection. So like South by Southwest started with indie artist, promoting indie artist to the bigger market. So we would like to start with promoting sport analysts to bigger market and expanding to more expertise. So I'd like to learn a lot about that later.
Definitely.
Okay, so Caitlin, let us let me talk about the talk about your swimming career background. How did you start swimming, and when you started aiming to be Olympic and Olympic medalist?
Well, I was just a huge water baby from the start. Like, my parents couldn't even get me out of the bathtub. That's how much I liked just to be in the water. And as soon as I was walking, I was going off the diving board. I had no fear of the water. My dad would just be waiting for me to jump in. I would pop up, he'd help me to the side, and I would just do it again. My mom said, you just go back and forth, diving board, pool out, diving board, pool out. So when I was 5 years old, I joined a summer league swim team. Obviously not super competitive at 5 years old, but we swam 3 months in the summer, and just had a huge liking of it. I was super competitive. I was really good at breaststroke, and I always looked around to see like where I was. And I used to touch and jump out of the pool really fast because I thought it was a race to get out of the pool too. So obviously, like, I just feel like some people are born competitive, and I was, but I also did a lot of sports growing up. I was heavily involved in soccer, cross country, and basically every sport you can think of, I at least did a season of it. And I think that's important. I think that's what helped keep me well-rounded and kept me fresh in the sport. I think it's easy to get burnt out on any sport, especially swimming, because of all the hours and time that we dedicate to it. So I didn't become a real primary swimmer until the middle of the 8th grade. And once I got to high school, which is roughly like 13, that's when I decided to commit all my time to swimming, and I stopped soccer and I stopped cross country. But honestly, I didn't overthink the sport too much. I worked really hard. I did what my coaches asked. I don't know how many swimmers would say, oh, I love training, but I love to race, and that's why I trained hard. And then I made my first international swim team when I was 16. It was the 1999 Pan American Games in Winnipeg, Canada. And I won both of my events and broke 2 Pan American records. And I think that's when the light bulb went off. That's when I realized that I was good or better than good. And that was kind of just the eye-opening experience, being at my first international competition and placing that well. And then, a couple weeks after that competition, my club coaches said, do you want to train for the Olympics? And I said, yeah, let's go for it. And then we never talked about it again. It wasn't like this ongoing like conversation. It was like, all right, let's cue your parents in, tell them what the goal is. And not a whole lot changed. I started doing maybe a couple more morning workouts a week because I'm not a morning person. So it was hard to get me out of the bed. And then honestly, I made the Olympics the next summer. So I almost feel kind of weird saying that, because it was a lot harder than that sounds. But just, it wasn't like something that was like embedded in my mind until I was older, until I had like my driver's license. But it was pretty surreal how it came together, and grateful for, the upbringing that I had in the sport, that it wasn't too serious from the beginning. I think it's important to kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. We don't need to commit to one at a young age, which you're starting to see a lot, I think, across the world, really.
That's great. I think one of the motivation to compete in that level, once you get on the national team, I think you want to come back to make the team again.
It's exactly. It's
right.
like when you get a taste of it, you want to do it again. And so when I went to my first Olympics, I'm like, I want to do that again. And even just, being now a spectator, being on my couch watching the Olympics, I'm like, I wish I could do that again. So you're right. It's you always want to repeat it because it is such a incredible honor, adrenaline high. I mean, it doesn't get much more supreme than that for our sport.
Yeah, especially like sport of swimming is like kind of like a small community. So
definitely. Like when you said I was a swimmer, and then Emily's a swimmer, it's like, we have a very close-knit community, and it's like it's almost like a sorority fraternity. It's a bond that people instantly connect with, having been a swimmer.
Yeah, I was working for Japan's swimming team, so I kind of taste that.
Yes.
A lot. Once you go to an international competition, you see a lot of people from all over the world, and whenever you go to the international meet, you meet again. So that's kind of like a motivation to go there. So obviously, for athletes, swimmers want to join another time. So I think that's a great motivation.
It is. It keeps you going, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an interesting part of kind of community to make. And so I think that kind of connect to what you are doing as general manager for DC Trident, one of the international swimming leagues club.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a new community in swimming.
True.
So how do you describe that, your role in DC Trident?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year was our first season, and at that time we had 8 teams. Now currently we have 10, with Tokyo being one of the newer teams. And I came on board as the general manager of the DC Trident team. Responsibilities consist of basically everything, being that it's a startup. The primary focus was obviously building a team, getting athletes on board with this brand new concept. It's a much different setup than a lot of typical swim meets or just swim seasons in general. So getting 32, or at that time, 28 athletes really excited to be on board, a staff to be in charge of, all the in-water rosters and training and whatnot. So that consisted of a head coach and 2 assistant coaches, a team manager, which was Emily White, 2 physios or massage therapists. So it was a really amazing experience. I think what we had touched on earlier prior to this is that, swimming is really popular every 4 years, and then it really just kind of is in the shadows in between. But every year there's amazing swimming and competitions, and world champions are performing at their peak, even in off years. So with ISL, the hope is to really highlight the sport more, make it a professional sport. Growing up, especially in the US, a lot of kids say, well, when I grow up, I want to be a professional football player, or a professional baseball player. Kids that swim couldn't say, I want to be a professional swimmer. But now we literally have kids saying, when I grow up, I want to be on DC Trident, or I want to be a professional swimmer. It's like, that's incredible to really just expand the sport. I mean, it is so popular, and it's a sport that so many people partake in, let it be in a pool or open water, or swimming in a lake, or, it's a life skill for a lot of people. And that's something that, USA Swimming is trying to do, is spread the awareness of learning how to swim. So having this being more a part of our culture, where it's a professional sport, and really help elevate these athletes' platform, their recognition, building a brand. And really that's important for Emily and I, is help them with financial opportunities, because a lot of these athletes have to have a job while they're training for the Olympics, or have to do swim lessons like in between, and swim lessons are exhausting and you're trying to train for the Olympics. So that financial component is really missing in the sport. And with ISL, they're really trying to break those barriers and give these athletes an opportunity to strictly be professional athletes as swimmers.
Good. So I'm sure general manager of the club is really, really tough. And you have to manage all the team, right? Like swimmers and staff members.
Swimmers, staff members, and then being a startup. I mean, we did everything last year, huh, Emily? From accounting to PR to merchandise to sponsors. I mean, I have personally never been a part of a startup to this capacity. I'm a partner in a swim fin company called Laguna Fin, but you know, it's very grassroots, and we have already had some moving pieces. ISL was brand new, and to be a part of something so massive, like you said, I mean, it's a lot of undertaking, but I'm just so grateful to have Emily's background being the business side. So obviously my connections and my visibility in the sport has been, you know, strong throughout the years. And I feel like I do really well connecting with the athletes and getting the staff and building that relationship and community and communication and just the team morale. But for me, the business side was all very new and just thinking outside the box. And that's what's so amazing about Emily, as we touched on her background in sports, specifically swimming, and then entertainment and business. And the list goes on and on. So I'm a big believer of surrounding yourself around people that make you better, and, you know, being okay with admitting your weaknesses and what you're not good at, because we can't be good at everything, right? Mm-hmm. So building those people and building, you know, your tribe or your village, for us, our staff, which we didn't really have a budget for, you know, so trying to pull knowledge and insight from people, because, you know, my background is swimming, and that's great for ISL in certain areas, but there's other areas because it needs to operate like a successful business.
If I can just jump in too, Kate, I mean, maybe this seems obvious, but like Caitlin's work ethic is like nothing I've ever seen. You're just so on top of things. So yeah, hire distance swimmers, because
yeah, the swimmers, we put in the work.
So it seems like you guys have great teamwork.
It's all about teamwork. It's about teamwork and no egos.
Yes.
That's our motto.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested in what Emily's role actually in the team, like business side, but yeah, everything as a manager.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Caitlin kind of described it. I just helped Caitlin with whatever she needed. And, you know, I have run businesses and startups before, so I was kind of able to look at the big picture and help fill things in. But it really was Caitlin leading the charge. I mean, leading the team meetings, recruiting the athletes, dealing with contracts. So, but teamwork is the right word for sure. And again, you know, I think even though people consider swimming an individual sport, I think we all love I know we all love our teammates. We all love our training partners and are used to having coaches and things like that. So whether it's DC Trident, whether it's my company, whether it's the iVoted team, I just think we all know how to work as a team. And Caitlin's exactly right. Like, no egos, best idea wins, put the work first and take care of each other.
Yeah. That's huge. Taking care of each other. You know, it's like, that was our biggest like priority, is making sure that our athletes were number one always, you know, for the swimmer, by the swimmer, and letting their voice be heard. And, you know, this is for them. We're doing it for them. Like last year was a lot of hard work. And quite frankly, there was days where like, I can't do this anymore, but like knowing that it was for these athletes, and growing our sport really, which we all three have, you know, it's been a big part of our life. So if we can grow the sport even more for the next generation, it makes those hard work or those major headaches worth it.
So ISL has some franchises, and DC is one of the franchise, I believe.
Yes.
So do you have some like commitment to the local community in DC area?
You know, that's been something that we're trying to sort through too. Obviously, this year that we're currently in, this season was supposed to look a whole lot different than what it is now charted to be. You know, ultimately we want to establish some real roots in the community with fans and sponsorships and partnerships and et cetera, et cetera. But this year, the concept of the league has had to obviously shift, like everything has, more to a camp type setting. So instead of having meets across the world, it's going to be one facility, one location for a chunk of time. The goal is to keep athletes off of planes and traveling less, but still getting high quality training and racing. So the plan is to be in one location, which at this time is not located in the US and it's not located in DC. So it's a little bit harder to have those deep roots. But at the same time, we've already started to build a culture with fans the last season, getting our fan merchandise out there. There's already people that have pride for our team. But it's hard, for our sport, because unlike most of the major sports, there's an arena for that team, right? There's no arena for DC Trident at this time. Obviously big picture years to come, that would be surreal. And that's the ultimate goal. But it's baby steps. And that's one of the things that I need to work on and, sync up with people that really know how to develop that. But that is the goal in the end, to have a deep-rooted DC Trident fan base out of DC.
And we did have people on the 2019 roster who are from the area. So obviously Katie Ledecky was on the team. Giles Smith is from Baltimore. That's very close to DC. So that was a really cool tie-in. Local media and things like that really got behind our hometown athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the important part, I think. So, Kosuke Kitajima, he will lead the team in Tokyo next year. That's announced. And we are, as Japanese swimming community, we're excited about that happen. Basically, last year, all the teams were based in the States and some are Europe.
Yes. 4 in the US and 4 in Europe.
Okay, so this is the first Asian franchise, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I think some of the meet needs to be travel long trip for dual meet. So that's going to be a challenge, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but I mean, athletes come over for World Cup and jump around continents and countries. So I'm not saying it isn't brutal or hard, but I do think they're pretty accustomed to it.
Exactly. And again, everybody's in the same boat. I mean, obviously traveling from different locations, but in the world of professional sports, you're going to have those long flights. That's for sure. And it's part of coming out stronger, faster, tougher. I mean, that's what it is to be an elite athlete.
And also, it's going to be changing some sort of traits or training style for swimmers, I think, because they keep racing. Up and coming events. Yeah. So, do you think it's going to be like changing the swimmers' training style or lifestyle?
It's a really good point that you bring up. Obviously this season we were supposed to start all of our matches right after the Olympics. And we had a lot of athletes that were committed saying that I'm going to rest more for these meets because there's a lot of prize money involved. And they're going to be racing more as well. But having said that, being in the year that it is, now that we're another year from the Olympics, I think it is going to take another year for that to change, because everybody's goal and what we support is their Olympic, dreams and ambitions. But I do think you have a really solid point there. I think that this league has an opportunity to maybe shift people's mindset as far as training. And I was always raised, even being a distance swimmer, that racing is part of your training. And I strongly believe that's the case. The more you race, it's only for the better. But when you're dangling a lot of prize money in front of somebody, you're probably going to want to rest and shave and be more ready to go at all times of the season, instead of, just the end of the season or your specific championship meets. But yeah, definitely, I think it's going to change the culture of training and preparing for races.
Well, I think it's also, especially on the coaches' end, the meets are integrated into training, right?
Yes.
So Coach David Marsh, he has Team Elite. Last year he was able to look at the ISL schedule, and as Caitlin just said, racing is so important. So instead of doing like a race pace day, right? Like the coaches can factor that in and know that, oh, well, they're going to have a meet. So actually that's our race pace day. So I think it actually integrates really well into the coach's plan in non-pandemic times.
Yes.
So you use the race as training.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, instead of getting up on the blocks and practice and racing your teammates, you get to race for prize money on television, which is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Better than just looping in the pool. for training.
A lot more exciting.
Especially for you, Caitlin, if you had this type of competition when you were active, you were happy about that, right?
Yeah, I think I would have made some good money.
And you said you love racing. Yeah.
I get to race so much. Yeah, definitely. And I was pretty diverse, so I could have swam a lot of events, from the 2 fly, 2 back, 4 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 free, 2 free. I think obviously with the schedule is boom, 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 boom. Like there's not a lot of rest in between races, so we would have had to be smart on that. But I think this league I would have been well suited for this league had it existed.
I was gonna say that. Versatile swimmers are so valuable in this thing because there's a lot of events. So yeah, we'd take Caitlin now if she wants.
And like you said, a lot of events and not a lot of swimmers allowed on a roster. So that's where it gets really tricky, because we've had some swimmers that some of their best events are back to back and there's just no way to pull it off. So, I mean, we had Zach Apple on our team last season and he didn't even swim the 200 freestyle. It's one of his best races is because we need him for the sprints, and, relays are worth double and skins are worth triple, so there's a lot of strategy, which Emily, don't you think that's different for coaches too? It's not just like, okay, some of your best events. Coaches really have to think points opposed to best events. Like if it comes down to a team and all the points, and there's a lot more, like I said, strategy that goes into it than the typical swim meet. It's exciting. It's really fun.
Yeah, and it was really important to us. It was hard, but it was really important to us at the recruiting level to make sure we have no holes. And maybe that's obvious, but I just didn't want to see like, a 50 freestyler having to do a 400 or whatever, which happens sometimes, So I was really proud of the depth that we had, all those 400 IMers, all those 200 stroke people. So yeah, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it.
Which started with the recruiting too, from the beginning. It's like, Emily's knowledge in the swim world is so huge. So knowing people's versatility and knowing that was on us, right? Because that's like the first steps was recruiting. So it's like, obviously we know the events, but who are swimmers that can do more than 1 or even 2 events? And usually like we're looking for people that are strong in up to 4 events, and more than anything are really clutch in relays. And that's where a lot of the points were. And that's why everybody loves to be in relays. So the recruiting process is quite strategic as well.
How do you guys recruit the athletes?
Instagram.
Oh my gosh. It was a free for all, really. I was one of the last GMs to come into it last season, and a lot of athletes because they tried to get this off the ground in 2018, end of 2018. Then there was some conflict with FINA and some obstacles that they couldn't pull together in time. So there's already swimmers that they had committed, ready to rock and roll in 2018 that were already on teams. So, and those were, some of the best swimmers in the US at least. And then coming in 2019, I was kind of behind as far as getting athletes on board, but a lot of it was just picking up the phone and getting in touch, and social media being so big, going through social media channels, reaching out via Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. A lot of younger generation doesn't really check their email as much. And it was just trying to sell them on your vibe, really, and what you're promoting. And Emily and I did something different where we did most favored nations, where all of our athletes were going to receive the same compensation being on our team. And then it was on them to win more money with their prize money. Get your hand on the wall first and you're making a lot of money. And that was different. We're the only team that did that, and revenue share. And so we try to set ourselves apart. But we had to sell ourselves. And I think a lot of people vibe off of people's energy, and we were very specific with the type of culture that we wanted on the team. Very positive, upbeat, enthusiastic team player. For this season, my head coach, Cindy Gallagher, has spent time reaching out to coaches and asking what their swimmers are like. Are they a team player? Will they step up? Is there an attitude? Is there an ego? Because that's really important to us, because obviously we want fast swimmers, but we want great role models. And we don't want to deal with any divas on the team, really. We don't have time for that. We're all in this together. And I think culture is just as important to me than speed.
I obviously wasn't swimming on the team, but that was like the best team camaraderie I've ever seen, and really been a part of it. It was really a wonderful culture last year.
I think one of the uniqueness of swimming is like men's and women's training together.
Absolutely.
And as one team, competing as one team, it's really unique. In other professional sports, there no such kind of thing. Always, complete different leagues, complete different teams but swimming, especially like format like ISL, you have to compete together. So is that something that you think uniqueness of swimming?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's funny because I've only been a swimmer. I've been a swimmer my whole life. So sometimes I kind of forget about that truly, I think maybe track and field would be the exception. But other than that, I mean, it's very separate entities, and in most universities are split too. I did go to a university where the men and women train together. And for the ISL, which is also being integrated into the Olympics, the co-ed relays, the mixed relays. I mean, never in a million years would I think co-ed relays would exist. But it's exciting. And for me personally, training with men only pushed me more. And I know men said training with women pushed them more because they don't want to get beat by the women, right? So it goes both ways. But that also makes a very unique, vibe and culture and environment on teams too. You got to make sure that's really in check and that, everybody's respectful of each other. And, something that was different with DC Trident also was that we were all female staff. And female staff that were also coaching men, and not a lot of men are used to an all-female staff. I actually don't know if any of them have, and female coaches in swimming are very kind of rare, especially at that higher level. But I just feel like it just brought, again, a different environment to our program, to our team, a lot of communication skills, which I think men do appreciate. They're maybe just not always used to it. And, I've had athletes reach out to me and be like, thank you so much for like communicating, letting us know and keeping us in a loop. And I think that's important, and they're professionals. We need to treat them like professionals and communicate as much as we can to them. And especially with something that's so new, and especially in this time where things are so up in the air.
I just want to add as a swimmer, and I'm going to guess Caitlin feels this way. Training with men and boys growing up, I mean, it's really defined my professional career. Because, like in my early 20s, I'd be in big meetings and my business partner would say like, gosh, you walk in there like a 50-year-old man or something. And I realized in hindsight, if you can beat them in the pool, I would never walk into a professional situation and feel intimidated, to be honest. Not that I always beat the guys, but you know that you can. So, and I think what I love about all genders training together is you go through that process, right? Like all three of us have done that. It is so hard, and you get through those sets and you support each other. So I've always been really comfortable with men because of that. And it's definitely something I've taken for granted, but it's something that I appreciate more now professionally.
That's a really good point.
That's interesting. Yeah, so I think that's...
Sorry, I just spoke to my club team and I said that. And my training partner, who is one of the best swimmers in the country, I said that. I was like, yeah, I used to beat Mark, so I could do that, in real life. And he's like, I don't really remember you ever beating me.
You're like, I do.
But I think this could happen in men and women, but also in swimming, we can train together, compete together with Olympic swimmer and Paralympic swimmer. It's just my opinion. It'd be interesting to see if ISL includes some Paralympic swimmers in the team in some category. How do you think about that?
It's a very, very valid comment and suggestion, and it's something that's been brought to our attention as well. I think we're too much in the infant stages to really sort that out, but I personally would love to see it incorporated some way, somehow. It'll be interesting to see how we can parlay that as far as with the roster numbers and the amount of events and the length of the meets, et cetera, et cetera. But I think down the line, I think it's something that definitely needs to have like a serious thought process behind it.
I also think it's in the United States, it's a bigger culture issue. I don't know when the Paralympics air in Japan, but I definitely know in the UK and a lot of Commonwealth countries, you have the Olympics on national TV, and then you have the Paralympics. And in the United States, it's on kind of like digital networks that no one can ever find. So that's something I feel really strongly about. I don't know what I can do about it, but I would love to see the Paralympics in prime time on NBC immediately following the Olympic Games. I think that would make a huge difference for people.
Yeah, right. Really good point.
yeah, like in UK, Channel 4 is broadcasting and promoting the Paralympic Games, and they have really good creatives.
Yeah.
And promotion of Paralympic athletes, and which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So showing their athletics level, and as a high performance athlete, they're admired, by people, general public, and so they have kind of culture in Commonwealth countries, and I think in the Swimming Australia, they have how many departments, but Olympic swimming, Olympic open water, and Paralympic swimming. So they are in the same umbrella, so they can train together and doing the same management. So that's pretty interesting culture to learn. So I think that's a little bit different in the States situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna be a good suggestion in the future. I will talk with Kosuke about that.
Perfect. Make a call.
Okay, so let's move on to change the topic a little bit. Leave from swimming. I'd like to talk about music a little bit.
Sure.
So Emily, you have project, and you will host a music festival, right?
Yeah.
On digital. Do you want to share about that information?
Yes, thank you. So I'll try to explain this as quickly as possible.
Or maybe I can share a screen if you'd like.
I don't think we need to do that. I can explain it.
Okay.
I'm the founder of #IVoted. Our last election. So I'm originally from a state called Wisconsin, and the 2016 presidential election was decided there by 22,000 votes. It was decided in the state next door by 10,000 votes, and I read that voter turnout was down. And I was like, 10,000 people or 20,000 people, that's our basketball arena. Why don't we put together some sort of awesome concert and tie in voting? But I realized if we took the concept national, we could have that much more impact. So we had elections in 2018, the midterm elections, and we activated over 150 venues to let fans in on election night who showed a selfie from outside of their polling place. We were in 37 states, all these phenomenal artists performed, all this press happened, and it was really just myself and an intern. It was an idea that caught fire and the industry really liked it. So now, obviously, we're in pandemic times, and we're inviting artists to perform via webcast for this fall's election on November 3rd. And fans can access the stream by RSVPing with a selfie at home with their mail-in ballot or from outside of their polling place. If they're not 18 by November 3rd, they can RSVP with a video letting us know what election they will be 18 for and why they're excited to vote. And if you're not an American citizen, you can RSVP anyway. So instead of just getting artists that are on my roster or I know personally or that we hope people will like, we partnered with a platform called Chartmetric, and we're literally inviting artists who are the top streaming artists in and or from each state. So we're through about 4 states' data, and we've confirmed over 200 artists. So the rate that artists are confirming, I think it's going to project out to about 1,500 artists. So IVoted is turning out to be the largest music festival of the year, all in support of voter turnout. And I'm now being told it might be the biggest digital music event ever, I guess. And other people are saying things that are kind of blowing my mind, but thank you for pulling that up. There's all the information. You can sign up for the email list if you want to get alerted when our RSVP system is up. We're continuing to announce artists throughout the summer. We just added some comedians. We'd love to be in NBA games after there's a vaccine. I was talking to the Charlotte Hornets before this, so yeah, we have a 30-person volunteer team right now, and it's been a blast to work on. The artists have all been really inspiring.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, that's a really great program and exciting, connecting those election to music.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and you can engage more younger generation to this political movement. So yeah.
Glenn Peoples at Billboard may or may not be watching. He said he would watch, but he pulled an amazing stat in an article for us, and I don't have it memorized, but basically he pulled, here are the young demographics that vote, and it was like 35%. It was really small. And here are those demographics and the percentage that go to concerts, and it was like 65%. So over twice as many young people go to concerts regularly than they do vote. So we're hoping to change the culture around that and really celebrate voting.
Great. So do you think you can connect this kind of project from music to sport as well?
1,000%. I would love to do. I voted at ISL meets, but I think we'll probably start with the NBA post-pandemic. And I know once we get one team on board, the rest will fall like dominoes. So I voted is absolutely not limited to music. That's what I know, and that that's kind of who my people are. But we just confirmed W. Kamau Bell. We're talking to a lot of other comedians, and yeah, I definitely want to be in sports, and I think that'll be much more relevant once there's a vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how do you think about that project, Caitlin?
Honestly, it's like mind blowing. Like, she never ceases to amaze me. She's like so outside the box and like so just like ahead of the game. And I think, we're roughly the same age, and I think we're considered like young doing such like big things. And I think that's just, it's just inspiring and motivating. And it's funny, we had a conversation probably over a month ago now, and she's like, this is like me getting ready for the Olympic Games right now. I know how serious and important and what a huge task at hand it is for her. But if anybody can do it, she's the woman for the job. That is for sure.
And I really hesitated on saying like, this is my Olympics, because that's such a special thing. I know I said this is my championship meet, but Caitlin.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's my
Olympics. But in all seriousness, it is very much a translation from my training, right? It's like, I know the date of November 3rd. That's my championship meet. I'm trying to take care of myself, physically, mentally, personally. Like, I'm focused on a goal and pulling this huge festival off. So there's no way I could do that without my background as an athlete in swimming.
Yeah. So you set the goal. So you just keep focus on that.
But I feel like an experienced athlete at this point. Someone just said to me, "Are you stressed?" And I'm like, not really, because I have a lot of support. It's like, my parents are swimming coaches. My grandfather was a swimming coach. My great grandmother was a swimmer. So I did say to my parents, it's like, you don't want to be like, well, I'm seated first by 15 seconds. I got this. I don't feel that way. I feel confident in my training and my ability and the support system, just like a more mature, experienced athlete does. I didn't feel that way in college as a swimmer, but I do feel that way about I voted right now, knock on wood.
Emily doesn't get stressed too much. Like, she's had to keep me cool, calm, collective. Like, last year I was a hot mess trying to manage all of this. And she's like, you don't need to freak out until I'm freaking out. And she never really freaked out.
But again, that comes with experience. It's like, how did you feel training at University of Michigan versus like when you were 16, 17? It's just like, you were probably less nervous at meets, right? Like, you'd been there before. So like anything, that experience just pays dividends.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, I feel that I kind of have the same sort of philosophy or habit. When I focus on something, even though there are so much things going on, I just trying to complete that. Like this, 24 hours. After that 1 year, 1 year to the games segment at the Olympic Stadium, I was there for my my main task as Tokyo 2020. But yeah, I still keep doing this 24 hours because I just decided. So I just do it until like it's halfway through. We started from 5 p.m. so it's 5:45. So it's halfway through, but still.
Well, I'm blown away with that because I am very obsessed with sleep, and Caitlin's a big
Same.
sleep person also. But it's like a set, right? Or like a meet, and you can be halfway through and be like, I don't know if I can do this, but you push through, and your teammates help you, and your coaches help you, and that's what you're doing with this event.
Yeah.
That's true. So Emily, you have many different type of clients in your agency. Like you have like musicians or artists.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Are they different?
Good question. I think the big difference is a musician tends to grow up with an idea in their mind of what a manager will be like. So we actually really like taking on musicians that have had management before, because if they haven't, they might have an idea in their head that we're miracle workers and all these amazing things might happen very quickly. And actually, I mean, not to jump around too much, but Caitlin's a good example of that. Like Caitlin's had representation before, Anthony's had representation before. But yeah, on the music end, if they've had management before, we like that because we know we're good at what we do. We know we're on top of things. So there's a benchmark for them to compare it to. In swimming, and I feel this way about Anthony Irvin in particular, but same with Caitlin, I don't know any swimmer that grows up like, what's my manager going to be like? What's my coach going to be like? You're just really focused on your sport, right?
It's more like, can I have a manager?
Honestly, that's the main difference. But I've always definitely always managed Anthony like a band, and always managed all of our sports clients like a band, because that's what I know how to do. But also what I mean by that is just kind of a more modern approach, right? Like what we're doing today, or Caitlin getting on Cameo, or having a social media strategy. So I take all of those modern practices from the entertainment industry and the music industry, apply it to swimming, but then particularly because of the knowledge from my family, I speak the language of swimming, and that's what it's all about.
That's really interesting, because there are not many agencies or companies taking care of both artists and athletes. They're completely different.
And coaches.
Completely different.
Yeah, and a coach.
And David Marsh feels like managing my parents sometimes, but it's just what I know. Right. So and again, my previous company managed initially music and comedy. And so people would be like, oh, that's so forward thinking. And I'd be like, I was laid off from my job and her boss was kind of a jerk. There was no like grand vision. And then with sports, I get that too. Like, oh, that's so cool. I've always wanted to have a sports division. And I'm like, I know swimming. I come from a, family of swim coaches. So I'll get emails from like a tennis player or something. I'm like, you don't want me touching that. I don't know anything about it. I think no matter what people do, it has to be authentic. It has to be genuine and something that you're actually into. I mean, to each their own, but it's not like I set out like, we're going to do music and sports. I mean, I was all music, throughout my 20s. I wasn't swimming. I'd be on a tour bus in Europe and sports or swimming would come up and I'd be like, oh yeah, that was my life. I mean, it was a totally different world. Not different world, but yes, a different world. And then when I saw Anthony in 2012 and like the Rolling Stone profile and the sleeve tattoos and the great taste in music, and I was like, who is that good that takes a decade off to like play in bands and then reemerge and make the Olympic team? So he really combined my two areas of expertise, and that's why I was able to do that. If I wanted to represent swimmers, I think it's something I would have done a long time ago. I'm really, really proud of the three people that I work with, because I think they're all unique and all do different things. So that's very appealing to us.
Yeah, always think outside of the box is important. Knowing people who are, not related to what you focus on, then you learn a lot. So I think, so that's why I'm really interested in South by Southwest, they have so many different, different
Tracks, they call it.
tracks, tracks and expertise. So you're a mentor at the South by.
Yeah.
But still, I think you could learn a lot from that event.
Yes.
How do you think about that nature of South by Southwest from your standpoint?
I think one thing they do really well is sometimes overlapping the tracks. So there's usually like 3 weeks of South by Southwest. There's like a week of, and there's like you said, there's a million subsets. There's like South by Southwest education, South by, there's all these new ones that are popping up. But usually it's like a week of film, a week of technology, and a week of music. And I've always kind of been at the forefront of music and technology. And South by Southwest music is usually like Wednesday through Sunday, but Monday and Tuesday of that week tends to be more music tech as opposed to just tech. So I like how they overlap those few days. I like coming in on that Monday, meeting with the different music tech platforms, and then kind of easing into full-on music. But I've also been to South by Southwest sports, which was really cool and really interesting. That that takes place during Interactive. So yeah, I mean, Caitlin hasn't even been to South by, but what do you think of Austin, Caitlin?
I love Austin. It's like one of my favorite cities.
I love going to Austin. And I've been there for South by and music a million times, but I often stay with, my friend Sarah, who swam for the University of Texas and was someone I swam against in Wisconsin. So there's always those swimming ties, no matter where you go.
Yeah. South by sports, South by music, South by interactive.
There's so many.
Film.
Nonprofits. I mean, I don't know if it's called that, but there's a lot. And you just have to be in the moment. And you might know this from events, but it's easy to look around and have, do you know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. But you really just have to be present. You can meet people like in line for the bathroom or the bar or the restaurant or whatever, or to your left or to your right. I mean, there's amazing people everywhere. So you just have to, focus on the people that are around you, take care of yourself. And also, I was able to go to South by Southwest in college. And so any students that can go through their universities, the younger you can go, the more you can understand what that's like and not be overwhelmed, at age 25 when you are a professional. So any students that have the opportunity to go, I really encourage that.
Yeah, if this kind of conference or convention can be combined with a sporting event, that would be really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
For example, if ISL could be a showcase for some technology.
Yeah.
If some tech company can apply their new technology in the field of play, that would be really unique experience for audiences, and also that's going to be a great entertainment.
Yes, they would love that too. That's very them.
Yeah, and plus, if it's combined with some other entertainment field like music or art, there's so many different type of entertainments. But if you can combine these different entertainment contents, that'd be really interesting. So I want to make these kind of things in the future.
That's awesome. We want to help in any way we can. That's really cool.
And in Tokyo.
Yeah, no.
So you can you can help me out and coming to Tokyo.
Done.
I want to
make these kind of festival.
Exactly.
In Tokyo.
And Japan, you have just an amazing love of music, right? I mean, the music fans there are freaking awesome. So and then the sports fans are great. So there's a lot of intersection there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's 5:54 in Japan local time. So I think we have five more minutes. But do you have anything you specifically want to cover, or I think I will ask you, Caitlin, about your let's say expectation with ISL in the future, and future of swimming. What would you like to? What's your expectation, or what do you want?
I think of what we touched on earlier when we were saying really to make it a successful professional sport and those financial opportunities that these athletes deserve. I mean, I just really feel strongly against any athletes that are currently training that have to have a type of job to pay their bills. I don't think it's realistic. And I know life's not fair, but it's not fair to put all that time and energy and love and devotion into the sport, but not truly to be able to be your best, because then you have to balance some type of career or financial gig on the side. I'm fortunate because I was on a great contract when I was swimming that I didn't have to, but I know I was few and far between. So my expectation is just, my hope is just to continue to grow the sport and give our athletes more opportunities. In general, I feel very strongly that swimmers are amazing human beings. They're very grounded. They're down to earth. They're genuine. They give back well. They are great with their fans. And I think those are true qualities of a role model. And I think that the swimming population have amazing human beings that young people should look up to. But a lot of these younger generations just simply don't know who they are. And I think we are searching for good leaders out there and good role models. I personally don't have kids, but watching my sister's kids, people who they idolize, I just kind of question, and I feel strongly that swimmers are the type of people that, can bring light and inspiration to our younger athletes and our younger generation. So I would love to have these opportunities because of ISL kind of filter that, if that makes sense. And just bringing more attention to our sport, letting it be something that you can watch like a professional baseball game or a professional football game on a regular occurrence. I think that's probably like the biggest difference, is that you just don't get to watch swimming on TV. But we're racing a lot. They race a lot. There's a lot of great meets out there, but it's just not televised, or it's not given prime time, or what we talked about, the different like channels and networks and whatnot.
Yeah, now we have so many different media platforms, so you don't have it doesn't have to be on TV. You can work with a lot of different digital platform, or even you can create your own platform, right? That is going to be the best way to make the revenue, I think, like MLB did. They had MLB Advanced Media, and now it's spin off from MLB, and the startup company called BAMTech is media solution company, and they're now under Disney, right? And they're the base of Disney Plus services. So yeah, that's interesting story. They're from Disney Plus is from MLB.
That's great.
Yeah, that happened. So yeah, if we can make such kind of things happen, that would be great value of sport, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. So keep going, and good luck for your next season with BC Trident.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will cheer for you and also the Tokyo team, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. If you have to.
1 minute, but I would have a comment on the future of swimming. I would like the future of swimming to be not just the talking point of diversity. I'd like to see no more all-white swim teams. I'd like to see much more investment in learn to swim at all ages. I'd like to see pipelines into club teams, high school teams, and and elite. I'd love to coach a Black swim team here in New York City after the pandemic. So the future of swimming, I think, can look, particularly in the United States, can look a lot different than it has for the past century.
And getting pools in more than just affluent communities. I think, that's so important. And, people are wondering where the miss is. And a lot of it's right there. I mean, pools are hard to get into. Even for myself, where I live, people are like, geez, swim all the time. I'm like, I don't really have a pool to get to. And I'm in an affluent community in Southern California. So I think we need to be very mindful when placing these the pools and the teams that go with the pools, obviously.
Exactly.
That's a great point. Okay, so now the time's up, and my friend Tak is on.
Hi, Kaylin. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good. How are you? Bright and
Thank
early.
you so much for your talk. Yeah, a little coffee helps.
Yes.
You look so sleepy.
I look so sleepy. No, it's starting to get bright over here, so I think the sunlight's gonna wake me up a little bit. Yeah. But super interesting to hear your guys' stories about the whole swim channels and creating your own kind of your own path in a sense. I think that's super cool and kind of like it's kind of what we are in the future right now. So hopefully that comes to reality and we can see that happen, and then create your own path as a swimming culture, swimming team, swimming organization, swimming community. And I think there's going to be some super cool things that we can do, and hopefully you can get that into a reality sooner than later. The future is now.
Yes.
The future is right now.
Absolutely.
So let's make that happen.
I love it.
All right. So thank you, guys. We have next session. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Take good care. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will.
You can just push the leave studio. Thank you.
Okay, Oga-san, we'll see you soon.
たくさんよろしくお願いします。
はい、よろしくお願いします。All right, Tyson-san, I am gonna bring you on stage. Hello, Tyson.
Hey, hi, Tak. How are you?
I'm good. All right, ladies and gentlemen watching on YouTube and Facebook, just a quick reminder that you guys can communicate with us through the chats that you see in the comment section that you see on your platforms throughout the session. So talk with us, interact with us, and we will be, we'll try to get to your comments and questions as soon as we can. But as we do that, we are going to be here are the other people too. Kubo-san and Steve is also here as well. You guys are all live. Say hello to your Facebook and YouTube community as we kind of celebrate. We are actually past the halfway point of our 24-hour marathon now. So here we go. But yeah, with that said, we are here to introduce some startups and the Canadian ecosystem in the sports industry and sports world with our friends at Jetro as well. So Tyson, I guess you guys are leading this off right now.
Yeah, sure. I can sort of take over a little bit, and then but jump in anytime you want if you have any questions or anything like that. So.
Sounds good. And again, the audience members watching, please feel free to post a comment, and we'll try to pick those up as soon as possible. With that said, Tyson, the stage is yours, and let's enjoy this next hour.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Tyson Garvey. I work for Japan External Trade Organization, otherwise known as JETRO, in the Toronto office. And my colleague here, Keiichi Kubo, we work together helping Canadian companies get into the Japanese market. And one of the companies we've been supporting, SoundPays, the CEO, Steve Doswell, is here as well, and he'll be speaking later about his company. And so what I thought we could do is, it might be a little bit more formal than some of the other sessions you've had, but just talk a little bit about what JETRO is and what we're doing here. And Kubo-san has a presentation he can do in Japanese, explain a little about the innovation ecosystems across Canada. A lot of people listening may not know too much about Canada and what's happening here. Then I have a quick presentation to highlight some sports tech, companies. And then we'll finish with Steve talking about his company SoundPays and the really exciting activities in Japan right now. So maybe if I can start to share my screen quickly. 1 second. Hold on, it always takes a bit of time here.
You got it. You're all good.
Yeah, I go here. I think I can. There we go. There we go.
There we go. I see
You
it.
can see that? Yeah.
There we go. We're adding it to the stream.
Great.
And full screen mode. You good to go? Yeah, there you go.
Good.
We see it move.
Perfect. Great. So, so as I said, the Japan External Trade Organization, we're actually under the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. We're basically Japanese government, but we're a semi-independent government agency. So we're one step removed from the government, but basically we do, work for the Japanese government. We have a bunch of different mandates. Innovation promotion is one of our key focuses, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But we also help Japanese SME exporters to go abroad. In Canada, probably our greatest achievement is bringing good Japanese sake into the Canadian market. So I quite enjoy that, the byproduct of our efforts. We also do a lot of research. We've actually done a lot of research on the innovation ecosystems across Canada, doing reports, new technologies, and just basically trying to find business opportunities for Japanese companies in the Canadian market. Quite a large organization. We have about 74 offices around the world. In Canada, we do have 8 staff here in Toronto. We have an office in Vancouver and also a liaison in Montreal. So they speak French there, so we need French support. And we also work closely with our US offices. So obviously San Francisco, New York, LA, huge ecosystems, even Chicago. And we work together connecting to a lot of the Japanese companies that are based in the US as well, who are looking for innovation here in Canada. And then we also have offices across Japan. Every prefecture, we basically have an office working with local governments and helping Japanese SMEs. So in terms of the main activities that we're doing here in Toronto, though, Kubo-san and I particularly, we're helping Japanese startups who want to come into the Canadian market. We're helping Canadian companies who want to set up a physical entity in Japan, so it's foreign direct investment promotion. And in this case, probably today, the main focus is open innovation. So as everybody's aware, many Japanese companies are looking to, find new innovation by partnering with startups around the world. So we try to provide opportunities for Japanese companies to connect to startups. And then eventually they might go to Japan and set up there, so we can support them there as well. Just some activities done recently. There's quite a large conference called Collision. That was in June. Of course, last year was physical, this year was virtual. But on the sort of the J startup side, we helped 10 Japanese startups to get to the conference and even helped some other ones to join in. But we did B2B meetings for them and give them an opportunity. And hopefully some of them, we have some interest from Japanese startups, especially in the AI field, who are actually interested in setting up in Canada, because there's a lot of AI talent here and a lot of AI partner companies that they can work with. These are some companies that we've supported, for Canadian companies specifically, and some very interesting companies like Nubo, an IoT company, Loop. They are sort of a shared scooter service, and so forth. So we're focusing more and more on innovative startups. In the past, we were looking for bigger companies, but part of this innovation mandate is we really want to help innovative startups such as like SoundPace and so forth to get into the Japanese market and bring new technology and innovation into the market there. For the open innovation side, we have a series called Generating Innovation with Japan, GIJ. We've been doing this for about 2 years now. We've done it in Montreal, Toronto, Waterloo, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And Kubo-san may explain a little bit more about some of these ecosystems, but there's a lot of startups. We've had at least between 40 to 50 to over 100 startups in the room for each event. We've had companies like Japan Rail, Mizuho Bank, SMBC Bank. We've had some NTT Data, Hitachi. And recently we started focusing also some health tech events. So we would focus more on pharmaceutical companies. So we had companies like Dai Nippon Sumitomo, Kisei Pharmaceutical, and going forward, we're looking for doing another health tech one in Vancouver, another one in Toronto, probably focused on COVID-19 technologies, especially such as like the social distancing sort of technology or tracing apps, things like that. And then we'll see maybe some other regional ones as well. And we do case by case individual companies. Big Japanese companies come to us, say, we want these innovation technologies. Can you help us find some interesting startups? So we'll use our network for that. So that's basically a quick overview of what we're doing. And we'll stop sharing, and then Kupo-san can spend a little bit more time to explain a bit more detail about what's happening here on the innovation side at the broad level.
Thank you, タイさん。皆さん、こんにちは。こんにちはというか、おはようございますですね。こちらは今、夕方の5時なんですけども、皆さんにとって朝6時で早朝の時間だと思うんですけれども、私はタイさんから紹介してもらった久保と申します。自分でですね、日本からカナダから日本への進出のですね、サポートする会社を経営しながら、今、ジェトロで、アドバイザーという形で働いておりますので、今回ですね、多分皆さんにとってカナダっていう国には、すごく親しみがあるとは思うんですけれども、どういった実際にですね、スタートアップエコシステムに関して言うとどんな状況なのかっていう話を、ちょっとご説明させていただければなと思います。画面って今見れてますでしょうか？
見えてます。
はい、じゃあすみません。
はい、よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。もともとの、カナダという国に関しても皆さんもちろん知ってると思うんですけど、地理的に言うとですね、皆さんご想像の通り、日本の27倍もあるような非常に大きな国でして、西の端から東の端でタイムゾーンがですね、6つもあると、6時間も時差があるといったような国になります。で、人口に関して言うとですね、3800万人の人口で、G7 でですね、ナンバーワンの伸びです。このナンバーワンの伸びの理由なんですけども、毎年約人口のですね、1% ぐらい、35万人ずつぐらいですね、移民を受けて入れてまして、そのため、先進国、非常に成熟した当然国ではあるんですけれども、人口も伸びていると。人口の増加にですね、伴って、経済成長の方もですね、ステディにですね、安定的に非常に伸びている国になります。で、国全体では1800万人の人口、日本の大体4分の1ぐらいの人口、3分の1から4分の1の人口になるんですけど、都市別で見てみるとですね、私の今住んでいるトロントという町はですね、北米で実は3位ぐらい、シカゴよりも大きいような町になっております。町としては相当、東京とかに比べれば当然ちっちゃいんですけれども、皆さんが思ってらっしゃるよりもですね、トロント、カナダで最大の都市、トロントっていうのは非常に大きい町になります。で、ただ大きいだけじゃなくてですね、人口増加率もですね、著しくてですね、今トロントですね、7万7000人のですね、人間を過去2ヶ月で、受け入れていると。で、これは北米でなんですけれども、2位、3位、4位と、その3つの町を足した人間の数よりもですね、移住してきている人たちが多いという状況になっています。で、これはさっき申し上げたみたいにですね、移民を受け入れているということが非常に大きい理由になっているのと、あとはアメリカのですね、トランプ政権の政策といいますかね、状況によって、北米で働きたい優秀な人たちが、アメリカはちょっとなかなかビザも取れないんで、日本にっていうこともあって、移民の人が多い結果ですね、トロント、カナダ最大の都市のトロントはですね、住民の半分以上が外国生まれ、で、230もの民族が暮らしているといったような、なかなか世界一というのが、クライテリアが難しいとは思うんですけれども、BBC の調査ではですね、世界一の多様性を誇る街だと言われているような国になります。で、カナダ全体のですね、概況をお分かりいただいたかと思うんですけど、なぜ今、ある意味スタートアップの世界、経済的なところで注目されているのかというのをお話しさせていただきたいんですが、日本のこの最近のですね、新聞だったり、ウェブメディアのですね、スクリーンをキャプチャーしたものなんですけども、日経新聞はじめ、フォーブス、ニュースピックスみたいなところでも、AI っていうキーワードでですね、かなり今特集をされてきて、非常に注目が上がっております。で、上がってる理由いくつかあるんですけど、まず一つご紹介したい理由としてはですね、政府がですね、カナダ政府が2017年ですね、17年にスーパークラスター構想ということで、州でですね、分けて、それぞれ州の得意な産業をですね、向かって左側の西海岸の方であれば、デジタルテクノロジーのスーパークラスターと。大西洋側の方だったらオーシャンスーパークラスターだと、トロントだったらマニファクチャリングだといったようなところで、それぞれの、領域でですね、それぞれの地域でこの領域に絞っ て、中小企業、スタートアップだったりというところに政府としてもですね、5年間で800億円のお金を費やして、雇用を生み出そうと、経済成長をしていこうというようなことで、政府がですね、かなり、積極的なですね、突っ込んだお金をしてきた。そこからお金が回ることによって、カナダのですね、今エコシステム、経済がすごくうまく回ってきているという理由があります。これが一つと、もう一個の理由なんですけども、カナダっていう国がですね、なかなかやっぱり皆さん北米で言うとどうしてもアメリカが行ってしまうと思うんですけれども、コスト的な面でですね、投資コストとしてですね、これは KPMG の調査、10カ国のですね、工業国を調査した調査結果になるんですけれども、労働力ですね、人件費、設備費、あとトランスポーテーションですね、運送費だとか、そういったようなところで、工業国10カ国の中でも、2位、3位といったような入る形で、投資コストが非常に割安であると。なので、外資を非常に呼び込んでいて、それに伴って雇用も増えているという状況にあります。税金面に関しましてもですね、法人税なんですけど、特に R&D 分野に関して政府の支援が手厚くてですね、アメリカが 39%、日本が 37% の法人税がかかるところですね、カナダは 26% といったようなことで、イギリスとか、そういう欧米のですね、欧州のですね、法人税の安い国に比するですね、非常に低い法人税になっています。で、人材コストに関してもですね、安いとは言いたくはないんですけれども、下の赤い丸で囲っているトロント、バンクーバーが、都連がそうなんですが、右軸にですね、レイバークオリティですね、労働力の質、で、縦軸に、そのコストと見たときにですね、皆さん親しみのある、シリコンバレーとかはですね、当然、労働力の質もよくいいんですが、コストがすごく高くてですね、その下のニューヨーク、ボストンなんかにも比べても、トロント、バンクーバーはですね、シリコンバレーの約半分、ニューヨーク、ボストンの約6割といったような人件費で、安いというよりも非常にいいクオリティのレイバーがですね、安いコストで得られるという、お得という言い方はあれなのかもしれないですけど、そこのマーケットにですね、魅力を感じてですね、Facebook や Google だといったようなところもどんどん拠点をオープンしているというのが今、カナダマーケットの現状になります。で、今日のちょっと本題のですね、スタートアップのエコシステムをご紹介をしたいんですけれども、グローバルに見たときにカナダってどの位置にあるのかと言いますと、スタートアップブリンクのランキングですと、去年3位だったので一つ順位は落としてしまいましたが、イギリス、アメリカ、イギリス、イスラエルに次いで4位という位置を占めるようなですね、エコシステムを誇っておりまして、先ほど申し上げたカナダ最大の都市のトロントとその隣町のウォータールーというところではですね、約5000のスタートアップと、80を超えるイノベーションハブアクセラレーターがある町です。で、特にご紹介したいのが、この、トロントウォーターコリドーと呼ばれるところでして、ここにはですね、25万人以上のテックワーカー、1万5000社以上のテクノロジー企業がですね、ガッと集っておりまして、シリコンバレーに次ぐですね、北米で第2位のですね、テクノロジークラスターと言われるような規模に、現在もなってますし、まだまだ成長しているという状況です。で、なんでこんなにですね、急成長しているのかというとですね、私の方でちょっと3つ大きく理由を挙げさせていただいたんですが、1つの理由はですね、ユニバーシティオブトロント、あとユニバーシティオブウォータールーというですね、それぞれコンピューターサイエンスだったり AI の領域でですね、世界的な強みを持つ、大学がですね、非常にやっぱりですね、人材を引きつけて優秀な人材をですね、供給をしているんですね。で、その人材を目当てに Facebook だ IBM だと、マイクロソフトというところの企業が集まってきて、産学共同による、ウィンウィンのイノベーションがどんどん起きていると。で、それを先ほどのスーパークラスター構想でもないですが、カナダの連邦政府から州、市のレベルまでですね、行政側の方も非常にお金を突っ込んで、研究機関だったり、イノベーションセンターだったりを作ってやってると。いうことで、大学が人見、民間企業もお金をそこに突っ込み、で政府としてもそれを支援していくという、その歯車が今非常にうまく回っているためにですね、カナダ、トロントが成長していると言えると思います。で、ちょっとカナダのスタートアップ、もちろん例外もあるんであれなんですが、特徴を申し上げますとですね、カナダ、先ほど申し上げたみたいに3800万人ぐらいの人口になりますので、B2C だとどうしてもアメリカに負けてしまうので、B2B ですね、 の方が強みがあります。で、B2B の方にカナダ企業強みがあって、で、それで横展開、グローバルに展開していくというカナダのスタートアップの戦略を取る場合が多く、また大企業、人口も少ないというところもありまして、大企業、例えば AI の領域でも Google、Facebook に対抗していこうというよりは、カナダの例えばですけど、地理的な特徴で言えば、自動運転の仕組みに関しても、例えばじゃあ雪道だとか、険しい山道における、データを取得しようとか、そこにおける、自動運転の画像処理の技術を作ろうといったようなところで、ある部分に特化したところに強みを持つっていうのが、カナダのスタートアップの特徴になります。それでIPO ですね、やっぱり上場して IPO してエグジットとするというよりも、ある特定の技術に強みがありますので、先ほども言いましたように、Google がこの技術が欲しいっつって、その会社をバイアウトしてやっていくと、M&A によるエグジットが多いというのも、カナダのスタートアップの特徴になると思います。で、代表的なですね、インキュベーター、アクセラレーター、あと、これご覧になっていらっしゃる方でですね、日本でスポーツテックのスタートアップをやってらっしゃって、カナダのインキュベーターと組みたいとか、カナダのですね、スタートアップと組みたいといったようなときに、今60ぐらいトロントで言えばですね、インキュベーター、アクセラレーターがあるんですけれども、代表的なものをちょっといくつかご紹介すると、MARS というですね、2000年に設立された、ですね、アーリーステージですね、シードステージからのスタートアップを支援するですね、イノベーションハブがあるんですけれども、こちらがですね、世界最大級のですね、イノベーションハブの一つとなってまして、日系企業さんもですね、数多くパートナーのメンバーとして名前を連ねていらっしゃいます。で、もう一個ご紹介したのが DMG というところになりまして、こちらのライアソンという大学発のですね、アクセラレーターとしてはですね、世界一の規模を誇るところになります。で、皆さんに知名度が高いものでいうと、プランガダンプレイですね。プランガダンプレイもですね、カナダでですね、オープンするということのリリースがですね、6月にありまして、いよいよやっぱりカナダの方への注目が高まってですね、どんどんその世界的なですね、プレイヤーが集まってきている状況になります。で、直接的に今日皆さん、聞いてらっしゃる皆さんにひょっとしたら関係性が高いもので言うとですね、北米に進出したい日本のスタートアップさんに役立つプログラムとしては、例えばその先ほど申し上げた DMG というところがですね、北米進出のために2週間の集中プログラム、研修トレーニングプログラムですね、このプログラムに、US ドルで1万ドルの参加費になるんですけども、参加すると、北米のですね、スタートアップだったり、そのメンターだったりを紹介してくれたり、ビジネスマッチングをしてくれたり、北米でどうやって生きていけばいいのかっていうところのノウハウを教えてくれる、そういったようなプログラムがあるので、もし皆さんご関心があれば、調べていただければと思いますし、もう一個 R&D の方でカナダ企業と組みたいんだということであれば、マイタックスというところの非営利団体になるんですけれども、カナダの60の大学と組んでですね、民間企業が研究開発をすると。その時にカナダ政府としてそのお金の半分を支援するよといったようなことで、こちらはカナダの大学の場合、なんですかね、すごく真剣にですね、とか、本当にプロジェクトの一員として、即戦力としてですね、研究開発の方に使えるような人材が非常に豊富にいますので、これも、多くの日本企業さんの方でこちらにいらっしゃって一緒に研究開発をしているという事例が多くありますので、もし、特定の領域でですね、研究開発、カナダの人間としたいということがあればですね、ぜひこちらもですね、ご参考いただければと思います。ちょっと駆け足になりましたが、以上です。冒頭に申し上げました通り、カナダなかなか、皆さんにとっては遠い存在といいますか、スタートアップの世界でもあまり馴染みがないかもしれないですけども、今もう世界的な注目を向けてますし、非常に何ですか、ある種のトレンドというか、ブームになっているところになりますので、カナダに進出したいはもちろんですし、カナダのスタートアップと組みたいという話があればですね、ぜひお問い合わせ、私なりタイソンなりにお問い合わせをいただければなと思います。以上です。ありがとうございます。
Hey, thank you, Kubo-san. Yeah, it's a great way to sort of set the information that I'm going to present, which is more focused on sports tech. Just to understand what, how much innovation is coming out of Canada right now. And just to give you an idea, this collision show, which was for the Japanese companies that I mentioned, the Canadian government, the Ontario government, and JETRO invited companies to, Japanese companies, large Japanese companies, from Toyota to Hitachi, venture capital firms, and there must be at least 40 companies that attended. I know it's virtual, so it's easier than it would be if it's a physical event. But I think many Japanese companies realize now that there's a lot of innovation here out of the Canadian market. So this is a great opportunity. So in sports tech, I'm Jetro. We cover all sectors. So I'm not specifically a sports tech person, but we do help a number of companies, startups and other companies that are in the sports tech field. So I wanted to highlight some interesting sports technology that might be of interest. These companies are probably interested. I know some of them are interested in getting into the Japanese market. Some are already in the Japanese market. And there's a lot more. So I'm also going to have a few sort of links where people can maybe find more information going forward. So let me just share my screen again. It's coming up.
Yep, here we go. We got a comment saying people are super interested in it. So
yeah, and of course, this is the reason for this is on sports tech because of the unfortunate cancellation of the Olympic Games. I know in the news this morning, people were talking about it as well. It's a sad occasion, but we have another year. Hopefully, by next year we'll be on. And in the meantime, it'll give chance for more tech companies to get their products, to the Olympics. So, I just want to give a brief overview of the major sports. People probably don't know too much what's happening in Canada, but the key point here is that a lot of our sports is not necessarily that Canadian focused. So, the major sports that are teams that are here, a lot of the big stadiums, a lot of the activities here are based in sort of the U.S. leagues. So, for example, probably people may have heard about the Toronto Raptors because they won the NBA last year, still defending champions just about. But basically, it's the only Canadian team in the NBA. So they're basically Canada's team. There was a team in Vancouver for a short time. And the same with baseball. Toronto Blue Jays, the only team. So people play baseball here, but in terms of watching, in terms of all the business side of it, it's very U.S. focused. Even the NHL. Originally it was a Canadian league. There are 7 Canadian teams now, but expanded into the U.S. So it's really a North American hockey league. Even Major League Soccer, there are 3 Canadian teams in that. They play, obviously they play usually during just the certain window in the summer. There'll be like a small time when they can play. The rest of the game, the away games, they'll put them in the southern U.S. where they don't have that much snow. The only league that's really Canadian is the Canadian Football League. They have slightly different rules to the NFL. That's again, that's very popular in terms of markets, and especially sort of medium-sized cities like Saskatoon and so forth, and Edmonton. Interesting dynamics there. But in terms of like watching, for example, sports, people still watch NFL as if it's a local league. There isn't really the Canadian Football League doesn't have quite the same cachet. The Super Bowl, I think, is one of the largest watched events of the year. The only thing is that we don't get U.S. advertising. So when they go to commercial break, we get Canadian ads stuck in there, which is always a bit of a sad thing for Canadian viewers. And also recently, of course, Premier League has become really popular. Now it's accessed through the DAZN app. So in terms of companies, I'm not going to talk too much about the sports tech market itself, but just highlight some companies. So this company, Vox Neuro, they're based in Hamilton, Ontario, which is about an hour's drive from Toronto. So they have some very interesting technology because it's based on the CSO, 25 years of research in this field. He's a neuroscience at Mass University, and they have quite a good healthcare ecosystem there with research hospitals and the university. And they've recently set up 2 certified clinics. So they're the startup taking that research into the market. And now they've got some revenue streams. They are looking to expand that network of clinics. And the key thing for them is brain. So basically understanding the brain, especially when there's been some injury or trauma. So when you what they have here, so they term it cognitive health assessment, and it's based on EEG based neuroimaging, and basically it can give very objective and qualitative assessment of brain function, so it can accurately diagnose, for example, a brain injury, and also provide information for the correct treatment. So there are a bunch of technologies that can do that, but I think they have a pretty amazing technology based on 25 years of peer-reviewed research. And now they can look at many different types of brain activity, could be even for like Alzheimer's for the Asian population, but their key focus is on the concussion and brain injury market. So now, of course, the Rugby World Cup was held in Japan last year. I'm a big rugby fan myself. I know Steve is as well. And so it's a great advertisement for rugby in Japan. It was a great tournament. And of course, more and more people, especially even kids, may start playing rugby because of that. But rugby, and I'm a former rugby player. As this type of sport, same as like American football, that type of sport. Of course, concussion, brain injury is a huge issue. And even in everyday life, people get concussions, and then they have to deal with that. So having a technology like Vox Neuro that can assess the concussion accurately, and then help with the treatment and get people back on their feet, back into normal life, that's really important. And also when it comes to other business interests like insurance, for example, that can be a huge factor for getting people back to work and off payments from the insurance company. So anyway, Vox Neuro would like to find partners in Japan, bring their technology there. So if there's any interest, I'm happy to make that connection. Another company that I've come across recently is the Sports Technology Group. So they have a smart athlete manager software. I'm not going to explain too much about that, but they are also interested in rugby in particular. So if there are any rugby groups out there listening who are interested in learning more about their software, I'd be happy to make the connection. So Ray, who is one of the co-founders, is also the sort of the head of Launch, which is one of the Launch Academies. Right? So one of the top incubators in Vancouver. So there's also a good connection there. If everyone's interested in connecting, I'd be happy to make that connection. Breezy is a company in Toronto. They are located in one of the top incubators in Toronto, and they've had some success in Japan. So basically what they have is they set up cameras around stadiums, which can then you can direct the camera with your cell phone, and you can do selfies, and then you can post your experience at the game. So it's very much a fan experience game, but it can also there's some data around that can be done, and also in terms of sponsorship activity. So they have had success implementing this in a few different places in Japan, but the one that's sort of public is the Japan Tennis Open, Rakuten Open, and you can see that they had quite a few unique users, 6,000 unique users there, and they also have a partnership with Canon that I think they formed that CES in 2019. Again, doing quite well in Japan, and looking for more partnerships. Myant is a company. It's not so much a startup, but I mean they have new technology, which I think is very interesting. And their technology is more on the textile side. So they're sort of what they term computing textile. So they basically knit sensors and into the fabrics, and so it can if you buy clothing, or if they manufacture sort of linen or something for a hospital bed or something like that, then they can bring that the information about the patient to the nurse, for example, on watch. Now, they have recently opened up this lab. It just happened a few days ago. It's Connect to Conquer, and it's focused on sports and performance of athletes. So they're looking to develop new technologies using their technology. And then I guess there's a trend towards virtual training because of the COVID-19 situation. But this gives more of a direct connection because it's not just virtual, but there's actual sensors for the athlete that's training, connect to the trainer or other things like that. So I think that'd be very interesting. It's very new, this application. Mostly their technology is on healthcare, but I think this might be something of interest going forward in the sports tech world. And then this one, I just want to highlight this company in Ottawa. So Ottawa, the capital of Canada, is about 4 hours from Toronto, but they have the sort of the Center for Telecom in research in Canada. Huawei, Nokia, Ericsson, they all have R&D labs there. Long history of telecom development. And this company focuses on providing the Wi-Fi enhancement so that it can be done in a stadium. So when everybody's checking Wi-Fi at the same time in a stadium, their technology allows that to happen so that people don't lose power. So I think that would be very useful as well for large events such as the Olympics and things like that. So yeah, so anyway, those companies, those are a few ones that I've been connecting with. So I wanted to highlight those because if there's interest, I can make a connection. There are other groups. There's the FSL, there's a Future of Sport Lab. So this is, I think Kubo-san mentioned Ryerson University as part of DMZ, but they have a number of incubators. This one's quite interesting because they're doing it in cooperation with MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. So this I think is the largest sports group in Canada. And in Toronto, they basically almost own everybody except the Blue Jays, the baseball team. So they basically own the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey team, they own the Raptors, they own the Toronto FC soccer team, and the Toronto Argonauts, which is the CFL team. And they also own the minor league franchises as well. But they also are they do real estate development. They have sports bars. They do a whole bunch of different things. So they're very much on the business side of sports. And this incubator, it's not just for Canadian companies. I noticed that maybe half of them are by Toronto companies, but others are from the US, one is from Israel. But this is a great opportunity to work, in an incubator where they have direct connection into the industry. Now they do have they were doing a pitch event for the latest cohort. It was canceled because of COVID-19, but it's online. So there's a link there, and you can go see some of the pitches. So I thought that might be of interest. And then there's other networking opportunities. I don't know these events too well, but I think that this is just a first step into the sports tech market in Canada. But there's two events here. This one also was canceled because of COVID-19. They say they're going to do it in September 18th. I'm not sure if it's going to happen because I'm not sure that we're opening quick enough for that to happen. But maybe they'll have a digital version. But they do have pitches there. I mean, this is a private, entry. I'm not specifically endorsing it because it's Jetro. We don't, do that generally as a government agency, but look into it. I think it may be interesting to see some of the talks and learn more about the sports tech industry in Canada. And there's another similar conference, STWS, and I believe that it's a series, and there's one in Japan as well. So maybe, Tak, maybe the Japan version of this, but they also have pitches. And I guess their next one will be in 2021. And apparently there's going to be some digital content as well in 2020. So maybe, again, might be an interesting way to learn more about sports tech market in Canada. So to close off, SoundPace. So we're very lucky to have Steve Doswell, from the CEO of SoundPace, come in and talk about his company directly. So it'll be a lot more interesting than the high-level view that I can give. And so, Steve, I'm going to end here, and I'll let you take over.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Tyson. I'm just going to pull up a deck. Is everybody able to see that?
Not yet. Hit up your share screen, and it should pop up on mine. I'll be able to pull it up onto the presentation.
Okay, let me just, you know what, I forgot Let me just try this here again.
Yeah.
There, this looks like I got the right place. Okay.
While you do that, though, it looks like the Canadian market for sports tech is very affluent too. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say it depends on the city, but Toronto for sure, Montreal hockey team, and then depending on the city, but if they're very passionate about their team, right? So like CFL teams and things like that. So Steve, are you ready? You got it up?
Yeah, I think you can see this now.
No, I don't.
Not yet. Not yet. I still don't see it yet. You're able to hit share screen on the bottom and then pull out the actual presentation.
I could see it there. So, yeah, so I'm clicking on share screen here.
Yeah. You click on share screen. It should show up as your entire screen application window or Chrome tab. I believe you got to go into the middle called application window.
Okay, I have it on entire screen. So,
and then pick the actual slide deck that you've got, and it should show up.
Seeing that now?
Still nothing here.
Yeah, well, like when I did this before in the rehearsal, I clicked on the share and it shared it, but here it's kind of a dead. Let me just try this whole thing again here. My apologies.
Did you find the actual file, Steve? Did you see the actual file to click on?
There we go. Now it's popped up. She should be able to see it now.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring that on right there. That should be us.
Okay. You can see it now?
I see our screen.
Wow.
But not.
It says it's sharing a window. It says.
You might have to get the window of the actual PowerPoint folder. There's a PowerPoint file.
It seems like you're sharing our web page, but not necessarily your presentation.
Yeah. Nothing, eh? Like according to this, it says it's sharing a window. All right, I'll press stop sharing and go through the whole thing again here.
All right. This is the new normal, right, for COVID-19?
There you go.
Every webinar has one technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got another one. And then I'm going to add that to the screen.
It seems, oh, no.
Yeah, and this is our broadcast. And then if you got another screen, there it is. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
And make that full screen. Yeah, you got it. And then here you go.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for your patience.
Of course. Looking forward to it.
Let me, just a quick kind of summary. What we do is we enable advertisers and sports franchises to digitally connect and then engage with their audiences directly from their ads or broadcast content. So we do this in real time, so real-time connection with broadcast content, and then we do this through ultrasonic sound waves. So our technology applications go beyond just sports. So what I'm going to do is introduce the company first and some various use cases, and then I'll focus a little bit more on the sports market and some of the things that we're doing in Japan that Tyson mentioned or referred to earlier. Okay, so the key problem that we out to solve is that there's no way when people are advertising or broadcasting content that they can engage with their audience in what marketers call the power of the moment. And that's that few seconds when you're looking at something, you say, oh, I'm interested in that, or I'd like to know more about that, or I'd like to get that. And right now, there's no way to do that. The best you can do is kind of try to find a website and navigate, and nobody does that. So as a result, most advertising is very generic. It's just on branding, and it's not about actually producing a sale or engaging somebody right there. So it's in general, advertising is ineffective or inherently inefficient. It's probably a better word to put it, and it's difficult to measure results. And especially the attribution data, where you're trying to understand how effective your ads were and what it meant in terms of sales or engagement from putting an ad out in front of a general population. So this is what we do. We say, okay, you see this sign, assuming you're interested in these headphones, this sign is actually radiating supplemental information on ultrasonic sound waves. So if somebody sees this and are interested, they activate our technology, which is in the form of an SDK, which we embed in third-party apps or wallets, and then it locks onto that sound waves, and immediately the viewer is given some sort of call to action to engage with the ad. It could be, sign up, register, request more information, enter a contest, vote on a poll, download a coupon, or in this case, you actually get a payment card. So you can purchase that product with a single touch directly from that screen while you're watching that ad. Okay. So what we do is we engage people in that power of the moment. We provide a new commerce channel. So you can buy things with a single touch, but you're not going to a website. You're buying that product directly in a direct-to-consumer commerce channel. It's obviously unattended in that you don't need to be anywhere near a point of sale or any hardware device or anything. It's truly mobile. And it provides a higher level attribution data, because as soon as somebody clicks on information in the sound waves, that's logged, and we can report back to the advertiser which ad was looked at by which viewers at which times and how they wanted to engage with it, or if they followed any of the calls to action. Okay, so here's a quick example of a sporting event in North American football. And what you see here is people opening up a Visa app with our technology. By flicking it up, they're listening to the sound waves coming out of that jumbo screen. The jersey that's up for sale is now easily purchased. So the idea is, just in the 30 seconds between plays, the star player makes a big play. The team tries to capitalize that by putting the jersey up for sale. And you now have potentially 50 or 60,000 people simultaneously purchasing that jersey in the excitement of the moment. Okay, here's Parco Mall in an example in Japan. And this is people at one end of a mall looking at a screen, seeing something of interest. In this case, it's a Docomo app our technology is embedded in, listens to the sound waves, pulls down a coupon. The coupon's now saved to the phone, and the person can now go to that individual store within the mall to get that. So it's the idea is now circulating people through the mall because they've seen items that they're interested in purchasing and redeeming that coupon. Here's an example on a train. And again, we recognize this case it's a banking app, activates the technology to listen to the sound waves, pulls out a payment card for that product. People buy it while you're sitting on a train with a single touch. Okay, and this is
never been done before. It's an experience that you're going to take back to everyone you know, share on social media. You'll be able to actually shop from the palm of your hand the product that is actually on stage.
So if you heard that, that was the Chief Marketing Officer of Roots introducing us at a live event where they're introducing a line of winter clothing. It's like it's a fashion show. And you heard him, he said, you can shop with the palm of your hand while the models are on stage. So as the models walk by, activating from the sound waves, you get now all the different products. And if you look at this young lady on the right, see now all the products that model was wearing. You can pick through the size, color, item, and now actually just purchase that product right when you're on stage. Okay, so that model walked by. There's the shirt, the sweater, the pants, the whole bit. So this is a multi-million-dollar event by Roots to promote their new line of clothing. And as they said afterwards, they sent us a letter saying our technology was the talk of the show and thanked us for elevating it to an entirely new level. So here's some other examples. You'll see the same technology, different use cases in live events. You see the rugby in the bottom right, TV. And then the Tokyo ticket sign there is actually an analog sign with speakers nearby. So people can engage with it, buy tickets. They think they're buying them directly from the sign, but the sign's really just a poster. They're buying it from speakers that are embedded in a wall close by to that. Okay, so we have a commercialization plan internationally. We look for licensees or major entities in each market to create an ecosystem of advertisers, content providers, app wallet providers, and the media channels, and pull that all together. A great example is Swisscom in Switzerland. They've negotiated an exclusive license to use our technology in Switzerland, and they've pulled together a whole group of train stations, sports teams, everybody else to launch it. Cadillac Fairview is another major customer of ours. It's the largest mall operator in Canada, and Roots Canada, a major fashion retailer in this country, which you just saw. And then you see we're looking with, again, some other big branded names to launch hopefully later this year in North America. So focusing specifically on Japan, these are the customers we're working with right now, or the prospective customers. And we've done POCs with all of them. And you see with Hankyu, we used some of the screens in Umeda Station in Osaka. Their employees used it. They were quite impressed that it works so well with such a hectic, loud, noisy environment. And we're now working on a next stage, which we'll talk about in a second. Yomiuri actually did the POC in screens in their head office, and they had different employees using the service and purchasing or actually entering contests and that kind of things. And again, they got very strong feedback from their employees. MX Tokyo broadcast on their TV station, and their employees used it to trial it out, and they reported back with great excitement that it worked perfectly on every single TV make and model, on every single phone make and model, and every location in their broadcast area. So one of the key things that we have going for us right now is, of course, COVID slowing everybody down, especially startups that are growing like us. But coming out of COVID, we have two great positionings that are really going to make a difference. And one is that the densities in malls, in stadiums, in stores, we're never going to be the same again. There has to be some sort of measured distancing. So the key now is, how do sports teams and mall operators, how do they keep the same amount of revenue with less people in their buildings? And of course, that's what we do. We allow them to engage and monetize customers that are looking at their ads from home or from a distance, or watching the sports broadcasts. The second one is remote payments. So right now, the model that we have of people crowding into a sales desk and a clerk is passing a point of sale device back and forth, the people are touching and entering PIN numbers. That has to change. It's not safe anymore for customers or employees. And that's what we allow, by using sound coming out of the point of sale device. People can actually purchase their products from in a store. They don't even have to be in the store, of course, but they can be meters, as we call it, away, rather than millimeters away from the point of sale device. So in Japan, we're putting together commercial launches with all of the entities I talked about. With Hankyu, we actually had originally planned to do it with one of their cinema chains, but they got closed during COVID. So we've been looking at other alternatives. But one of those divisions or group companies. Same with Yomiuri. We're looking at their TV stations, their travel agency, their entertainment division. They actually own a couple of malls as well. And of course, the giants. MX Tokyo will be both on their TV networks and their FM, and they're actually partnering with the Japanese streaming company to launch the technology on TV and streaming simultaneously. And Dentsu, which we're working with, is both their sports division and their Olympic 2020 division. And can't say a whole lot more at this time, but yeah, we've really caught their attention on a new way engaging audiences and selling tickets for Olympic events and that kind of thing. And our plan is, once we're successful in Japan, we'll use that success to expand into other countries in Asia. So here's a company. We're 5-year-old startup or early revenue stage, 13 of us out of Toronto, Canada. We have won a patent awarded in the US, and we're actually expecting it to be awarded in Japan very shortly as well, and waiting for China and Europe to come in. Here's a quick snapshot of some of the team. And that's us. So hopefully that gave you enough of a perspective on what we're doing, and see how this technology can be used for sports associations, either live or broadcasting over TV.
So, Tak, are there any questions from outside? If not, I can.
Yeah. As of right now, no questions. I'll ask anyone watching the audience, YouTube, Facebook. Please feel free to comment below using your comment section underneath, and if you do, we will pick those up. And until then, Tyson, I'll give it away. We got about 6 minutes before we got to wrap up. But
yeah, well, I have a question for you, Steve, and it's more sort of about in terms of you've got a number of partners already, but if you were thinking of, especially in the sports tech world, or in any other market segment, what type of partners are you interested in working with? Obviously, like Yomiuri, similar companies, or are there any other areas that you would think that would be a good fit?
Well, I guess there's two requirements to our solution. One is somebody has to have content, either advertising or sports broadcast or some content that we can utilize to put the ultrasonic information in, that secondary stream of information in. And the second side of it is to have the mobile app or wallet that we can embed our SDK in, which allows to listen to that ultrasonic information and pull it to the phone. So all the companies that we've been talking to, of course, are big in marketing, advertising, are big brands, spend a lot of money in advertising through their different divisions. The one that's a little more difficult in Japan is getting our SDK into apps or wallets that are widely distributed. So any of the points program that are using apps, of course, Line is somebody we've been talking to, but it's a slow discussion. But anybody that has an app or wallet that's very widely distributed in Japan is of interest to us, because then people can use that same one, whether they're in a stadium watching it at home on TV, or on a train, in a shopping mall, whatever. Of course, sports teams franchises are good because there's a lot of loyalty to them, and when you're in the stadium or the arena or the court or whatever, you're going to be having that app open and using it, and probably the same when you're watching it on TV. But you're less inclined to be using it when you're on a train or in some of those other scenarios that we saw.
Yeah, I just saw Liverpool raise the Premier League championship trophy today when they beat Chelsea. And, it's some sort of occasion where I'm sure if it was easy, millions of people would just buy the shirt, the Liverpool shirt there and then. It's the sort of thing when you go to the store later, it'd be like, well, oh God, it's $80, really? I don't know, that's quite expensive. But in the moment, like you said, I mean, I gotta have that shirt.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I was thinking also. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it leads to the story that I bought this shirt or this, whatever. The minute they won the thing, that I didn't get it a week later or whatever. Yeah. This was at the moment they won the championship. That's when this was purchased. So, yeah, that's a good point.
I can imagine also with that, when my 13-year-old daughter will have, see something on YouTube and wants to buy it, something that's being showcased. So there's lots of other applications as well outside sports tech. So I hope you can find some partners there. I have another question. We still have time for a little bit. This is more the other direction, and it's more about. So we're helping Japanese startups to come into the Canadian market, and you're at the DMZ, which Kubo-san explained, one of the key incubators in Toronto. They have a YYZ program, which is specifically helping foreign startups to come into the Toronto market. They can easily help them set up with a startup visa, so it's quite easy to get into as an entrepreneur to get into Canada to set up a company compared to like the US, for example. But what advantages, like what at DMZ and so forth, why should they come to Toronto rather than just go to Silicon Valley?
As an individual to looking for work, you mean?
No, like an entrepreneur or a startup Japanese startup company would like to expand into the North American market. Yeah.
Okay. It's just interesting because we have been trying to hire Japanese-speaking people here in Toronto to help us, but we've come close a couple times, but never quite connected.
It could be individuals too, though.
Yeah, but for a company coming to North America, Canada, of course, is very much a gateway to US, and it's probably quieter and easier to develop products and maybe get some initial customers and then build that momentum before going down in the US. Of course, the US, especially in the startup areas, are very impatient. They expect immediate results, they expect immediate revenues, and then they forget about you. I find Canada's a little bit slower, gives you a little bit more time to get your feet underneath you and build the company going up. I also think Canada's a great attraction right now. A lot of people are a little skeptical about going to the US, and everybody's happy to come to Canada. So we have all the best talent coming from all around the world here. And, we just hired some great people. Neither of them are originally Canadians, but they came here to build a new life and a career. And that's been good for us too. The governments are supportive of startups. These incubators that you mentioned are great. They're very attuned to what startups need and how to help them. So I find it's just like my first startup was in 1994, and there was no help. Nobody thought about a startup. We didn't even use the word startup. We were just a young company. And the way everybody is in Canada has come around to helping to, coddle and create that, I think is exceptional.
Thanks, Steve. Awesome. I guess, Tak, we're running out of time, right? So
yeah, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Steve, Tyson, and Kate-san, Kubo-san. Ogura-san, hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your interesting
we're about to start our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for your session. We hope to see you soon, and we hope for your great success over in Tokyo and Japan. Hopefully, we can all travel and see each other very soon.
Right.
And from there on, Tatsuo-san, I will stand the stage right next to you. I'm passing on the torch, and welcome the people from Sports Tech Tokyo.
Yeah. So now the time for Tokyo. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Arigato. Thank you.
じゃあ、小倉さん、よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。
はい。
はい。ということで続きましてですね、今、カナダの方のスタートアップのお話をしていただきましたけど、今度はですね、東京から、スタートアップ系、スポーツテック東京さんのですね、皆さんにお越しいただきたいと思います。それでは、ちょっとまだ、白石さんが入ってないかもしれないですけど、まず薬師寺さん。
こんにちは。
安武さん。
はい。
おはようございますですね。
おはようございます。
早朝7時からありがとうございます。
こちらこそ。
お越しいただきまして。
はい、寝坊しなくてよかったです。はい。
ちゃんと寝られました？
バッチリです。
バッチリですか？
はい。ちなみに言っておきますと、一人遅れている白石は寝坊しているわけではありませんので。はい、
さっきまでいたんですよね。
はい、さっきまでいました。
さっきまでいたんですけど、なんか、どっかに行ってしまいましたね。
はい。
僕は寝ずに、まだ頑張ってます。
すごいですね。本当に24時間テレビですよね。
本当24時間。
いい時ですよね。
24時間テレビです。ちょっとさっきまできつかったんですけど、一回なんか、
なんか
戻ってきました。外の空気を吸ったら、少し、朝の感じになってきましたね。
今、場所的にはどちら、東京っていうか関東なんですか？
東京なんですけど、八王子の結構山奥というか、里山がありまして、そんなところで緑に囲まれてやっております。そうこうしているうちに、白石さんが到着されたみたいです。白石さん、おはようございます。
すいません。
大丈夫ですか？寝坊ですか？
いや、さっきまでいたじゃないですか。やめてくださいよ。
確かにいました。
八王子の山奥ではないんですけど、ちょっと電波が一瞬悪くなりまして、大変失礼しました。
都内なのに。
はい、すいません。
お願いしますよ。
はい。
テックなんです。スポーツテック東京なんです。お願いしますよ。
そうですね、危ないですね、これは。失礼しました。
これ確かに人の問題ですね、テクノロジーというよりは。はい、
そういうことですね。
名誉のために必ずそういうことに続けてください。はい。
ということで、じゃあ、白石さんもいらっしゃったんで、早速セッションスタートしていきたいと思うんですけど、スポーツテック東京、2018年ですかね。活動が開始されたのが。
はい。
昨年、2019年がまず、メインの1年間だったと思うんですけど、今日は、その1年間の、スポーツテック東京さんの活動の内容とですね、そこで得られたことだったりとか、もう本当に、世界中を巻き込んで、いろんなスタートアップの、発掘だったりとか、そういうこともされていると思うので、東京から世界に対して、どのようにこの活動を広げていこうとしているのか、そういったところに関しても、お話を伺えたらなと思っております。ということで、白石さんいらっしゃったので、白石さんにボールを投げたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。よろしくお願いいたします。改めまして、スポーツテック東京電通の白石と申します。本日はこういった機会をいただきましてありがとうございます。先ほど、小倉さんからご紹介いただきましたように、このスポーツテック東京の、ご紹介、これまでとこれからみたいなところを少し触れさせていただければと思いますので、よろしくお願いいたします。早速であるんですけれども、これまでというところにつきまして、薬師寺の、こちらの画面にいる、薬師寺の方から、これまでのスポーツテック東京というところを少しご紹介させていただければと思いますので、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい。ちなみに今日はもう一人安武というのも同じチームで結構複数名でやらせてもらってるんですけれども今日はその中から3人朝に強い3人をちょっと時間をちゃんときちんと守るという3人だったんで、はい、
一人遅れましたが。
一人遅れちゃったっていうね。はい、見込み違いだったんですが。画面を今シェアしました。映ってますかね。
はい。
大丈夫ですか。
映りました。
はい。で、私の方からまず最初にですね、このスポーツテック東京、というのも初めての方もいると思うので、クイックに、どのようなことを、取り組みをしてきたかということをちょっとお話したいと思います。まず最初に一言で言うとですね、スポーツ東京っていうのは、電通が主催して、スポーツ×テクノロジー、これスポーツテックっていうことなんですが、これをテーマとして、多様なビジネス開発を行うアクセラレーションプログラムです。ただ一つ一般的なアクセラレーションプログラムとの違いといいますか、特徴なのがですね、スタートアップの皆様から見ると、アクセラレーションプログラムになっているんですが、一方で、別の側面から見ると、オープンイノベーションを、目指されている方たちにとっての、プラットフォームにもなっていると、そういったような、プログラムです。で、ちょっとこちら、おいおい、説明していきたいと思うんですが、ちょっとその前にですね、まず、なんでこんなことを始めたのかっていうと、当然、今日のこのイベントもですね、リンクしていると思うんですが、世界的なスポーツイベントが予定されていたと思います。ただ、それだけではなくてですね、その前後に、去年はラグビーがありましたが、それだけじゃなくて、今後もワールドマスターズゲームですとか、他の世界水泳ですね。こういった世界的なスポーツイベント、メジャースポーツイベントが立て続けに起こる。人によってはこれをゴールデンスポーツイヤーと呼んだりとかしてるんですが、こういったような今タイミングに東京ですとか日本があると。世界からはこのような風に見えているので、こういった私たちスポーツモーメンタムと言ってるんですが、今、東京もしくは日本に起こっていると。こういったバックグラウンドがまずありました。で、そういったバックグラウンドを踏まえながら、拡大し続けるオープンイノベーションのニーズといいますか、企業が今、どの分野の企業さんも皆さん、おしなべてといいますか、オープンイノベーションを目指されている、こういったような状況が片やあったりですとか、あとその企業ではなくて、スポーツのチーム、もしくは競技団体ですね、こういったところも、良いテクノロジーであれば、どんどん取り入れていこうというような、ニーズがあります。こういった3つのニーズを、弊社の方で、ありがたいことにいただきまして、 それをうまく紡ぎ合わせることで、どうにかこういったニーズに応えていこうと、そういったような背景が最初にありました。で一方、我々のだけではなくてですね、国全体といいますか、行政、具体的にはスポーツ庁さんなんですが、こちらがですね、2015年に今、スポーツ関連産業が 5.5 兆円の規模だったんですが、これを2025年、約10年ですね、までに 15.2 兆円までにしようという、押し広げようという、かなりチャレンジングな目標をセッティングして進めたりとかされています。で、マーケット自体をそのまんま広げるっていうのもなかなか一気に3倍っていうのも難しいと思うんですが、スポーツっていうのは非常に他の領域との融合力が高いという特徴がありまして、スポーツにテクノロジーを加えることで、観光ですとか、アパレル、医療、健康、交通、様々な分野にですね、つながっていけると。で、そういった分野を取り込むことで、こういった市場拡大を起こしていこう。そういうような、戦略といいますか、狙いをスポーツ庁さんの方で持たれて、で、積極的にそうなるように推進されると。こういったような背景も国全体としてありました。こういった中でスポーツテク東京というのが始まりました。で続きましては、このスポーツテク東京、一体どういうような構図といいますか、スケジュールといいますか、メンバーでやってるのかっていうのをちょっとご説明したいと思うんですが、まず構図なんですが、一般的なアクセラレーションプログラムと同様ですね、まずは世界中から優れたテクノロジーを持たれている、もしくはビジネスアイデアを持たれている有望なスタートアップを募集しまして、これに選考を行いまして、結果的には最終的に12社を採択させていただきました。で、左側にこちらが書いてあるんですが、それに対して右側がですね、企業ですね。これ弊社、電通も含むんですけれども、電通だけではなくて、複数の企業にご賛同いただきまして、パートナーとして入っていただきまして、そういった企業とまずはマッチングを行い、その中で革新的な商品ですとかサービス、もしくはテクノロジーを発展させるといったようなことをまず作っていきます。で、大体はここで、終わりなんですが、それに対して、スポーツテク東京はですね、こういったプロダクトを、テクノロジー導入を行う日本のチームとかリーグ、もしくは競技団体に対して、導入を図っていくことで、考えて終わり、発表して終わりではなくて、着地、実際のビジネスにしていくと、そういったような、プロセスを、設計しております。ちょっとこれは、期間の軸でプログラムを書いたものなんですが、先ほどご紹介いただきましたが、2018年の10月にですね、もともとは公開、発表しまして、その後、スタートアップを募集をしまして、これを世界的に行いまして、で、2019年の1月いっぱいで締め切りまして、まず前半はですね、選考ですとか、一次選考を通過した、スタートアップの方に、東京に集まっていただいて、一大ビジネスマッチングイベントを行ったりしました。で、その後、最終採択をさせていただきまして、その成果といいますか、集中的な、事業支援を行った成果の発表の場として、8月にアメリカのサンフランシスコにてワールドデモデーを行いました。で、ここまでが一般的なアクセラレーションプログラムで、多いものだと思うんですが、スポーツテク東京を繰り返しになりますが、ここで終わりではなくて、ここまでが前半として、後半は、そこで生まれたアイデアですとか、事業アイデアですとか、テクノロジー、これを実際に必要とされる、もしくは相性のいい、チームとかですね、導入側の方にしっかりつなげていきまして、普及ですとか、そこからのビジネス拡張を狙っていくと、こういったような後半、我々活性化ラウンドと呼んでいますが、こういったものを行ってまいりました。で、主催は電通なんですが、当然、電通だけで、すべてできるわけではなくてですね、グローバルなプログラムですので、プログラムパートナーとして、スクラムベンチャーズ社ですね、こちらの、タッグを組みまして、共同で開催をしました。で、この2社だけではなくて、先ほど申しました、企業側、様々な幅広い業界の企業ですね、ご賛同いただいた、パートナー企業としては、伊藤忠さんをはじめ、ソフバン、SME さん、日本マイクロソフトさん、CBC さんのこの5社に入っていただきました。で、スポーツアドバイザリーボード、これは、メジャースポーツの幹部の方ですね、具体的にはサッカー、バスケット、野球、 あとはダゾーンですとか、デルタトーレですとか、あとは北海道ボールパーク、なども、入っていただきました。その他、メンター、これは主に、北米を中心としているんですが、スタートアップの事業支援を実際に行っていく、ために有識者ですね、投資関係者ですとか、スポーツビジネスの経験が非常に豊富な方、これを、北米、あとは次に日本、あとその他の国含めて114名、ご参画いただいています。あと、スポンサーはちょっと特殊な言い方なんですが、これは様々な支援をいただく団体ですね。メディアですとか、ローファーム、あとはコンサル、各種のチーム、リーグ、こういった団体を含めて、それぞれの形で、このプログラムをご支援いただくということで参加いただいている団体が54団体あります。これを全部足し上げますと、全部で181の団体、個人も含むんですが、今、スポーツテック東京にご参画いただいています。これは日々、増えてますので、この資料をちょっと作らせていただいた2020年の5月現在の数字ですが、こういったスタートアップだけではなくて、様々なレイヤーといいますか、立場の方が、このプログラムにご参画いただくことで、オープンイノベーションのプラットフォーム、オープンイノベーションが生まれる場になっている、ネットワークの場であると、こういったような点もスポーツテック東京の特徴だと思います。ここまでがスポーツテック東京、どういうようなスキームといいますか、参加メンバーで行ってきたのか、今も現在進行中ですので、行っているのかということをご説明しましたが、去年、初回第1回ですね、を実施しまして、おかげさまで無事、盛況のうちに終わったのですが、その様子を少し私の方から伝えたいと思います。まずローンチ10月にしまして、その後、世界中のスタートアップの方、まだスポーツテック東京ってものをご存じない方が普通ですので、その方が、に知っていただくために、東京、他、世界6都市で説明会を行いました。で3ヶ月ほどの募集期間を経まして、締め切ったところ、ありがたいことに初回から約300ですね、のスタートアップが世界33カ国から、応募をいただきました。で内訳を、少し字が細かいですが、見ていただきますと、まず一番多かったのがアメリカですね。43% がアメリカで、続きまして日本、あとは UK、カナダ、このセッションの前はカナダの方でしたと思うんですが、あとはイスラエル、オーストラリア、で、このアザーカントリーズの方には、インドですとか、アジア諸国が入っております。非常に多様な、本当にグローバルプログラム、として、何ですかね、グローバルプログラムらしい、非常に多様な国からご応募いただきました。あと、これ、右側はですね、カテゴリーに分けてるんですが、スポーツテック東京、スポーツテックと一言で言いましても、非常に多くのカテゴリーがありまして、例えばアスリート支援をするものですとか、スタジアムソリューション。いわゆる今ちょっとなかなかスタジアムに集まれなくなってますが、このスタジアムをスマート化していくために必要な、テクノロジーですね。多様なものがありますが、そういったもの。あとはこのファンエンゲージメントですね。ファンや、観戦、熱狂などを新しい形で、作るようなテクノロジー。こういったものがあったりですとか、あとは VR、AR、系ですとか、そういったようなものがあるんですが、こちらも非常に多様なカテゴリー区分の、応募がありました。でまず第一段階としまして、主に書類を見させていただいて、第一選考という形でおよそ半分ですね、約300の応募から159社を一次選考させていただきました。でこちらを単にこの形式上に一次選考、したわけではなくてですね、パーティシパントという、名前を付けまして、こういった方にも途中段階であっても、このプログラムに参画いただくような、ルールといいますか、プログラムにしました。で、その159のパーティシパントの方に、昨年の4月ですね、日比谷に、日本の日比谷に集まっていただきまして、で対象の159社中、実際に来ていただいたのは104社、東京に集まっていただいて、足掛け3日にわたって、大規模なビジネスマッチングイベントを行いました。具体的には、まず自分たちが何者かということを参加されている方、すべての方が、 ショートに発表する場を設けまして、あと、オープンイノベーションという側面もありますので、自分たちは何を持っていて、何を求めているのか、こういったものを、全体に対して共有するところから始めたいですとか、あと各種、セッションですね、カンファレンスなどを行いまして、で最終日、このイベントの、大取りなんですが、ビジネスマッチングイベントなんですが、いわゆるスピードデーティングですね。大お見合いパーティーっていうふうに我々呼んでたんですけれども、104社のスタートアップに対して、一方で日本の事業者、メディアとか、あと CVC、もしくは投資機関ですとか、投資家の方も含めて、あとチームリーグですね。このスポーツテック東京に参画いただく方、いわゆるオープンイノベーションの相手方を探している方にも参加いただいて、で事前にどういうところとこう話してみたいという、いただいた情報をもとに、マッチングを、相手をセッティングさせてもらって、20分、1回のスロットがですね、20分で、20分ごとに相手が大移動するという、ことを、1日にですね、だいたい20セッションぐらいやらせていただいて、この日だけで延べ500、数十の、ビジネス商談をセッティングしました。実はですね、この大量にやる、もちろん全てがうまくいくわけではないんですが、ここをきっかけとして結果的に、様々なビジネス協業が生まれました。なかなかやっぱ数を、やったことが、功を奏して、そこからいろんなものが生まれたというような、イベントをいたしました。で、ここの、結果も踏まえまして、159社から最終的にこのスポーツテック東京で手厚く事業支援をさせていただく対象をですね、12社。国で言うと結果的には7カ国になったんですが、を採択させていただきました。で、これ、ちょっと時間の関係上、あんまり詳しくは、一つ一つはご説明しませんので、もしご興味のある、どういうところがこのプログラムで採択されたのかということを、お知りになりたい方は、スポーツテック東京のホームページに、情報が載ってますので、そちらをご覧いただきたいんですが、ざっと、例えばこの 4D リプレイはですね、360度といいますか、いわゆる昔で言うマトリックスのグイーンとカメラが、回る感じなんですが、そういったような特殊な撮影技術を持っているところですとか、あとはこのピクセロットというのは AI カメラで、ちょうど多分この後も話もできたらと思うんですが、今撮影クルーがなかなかコロナの関係でリスクを集まってしまうことがリスクになるという時代で、無人カメラの技術を持っているところで非常に今、引き合いが来ていると聞いているところなんですが、ピクセロット社。あとは唯一の日本からの、最終採択になったんですが、ベンタス。これは電子版のトレーディングカードですね、を手掛けられているスタートアップですとか、あとは選手のコンディションを分かる、ところのオメガウェーブですね。これは北欧系のスタートアップなんですが、とか、あと腸内細菌、いわゆるバイオの部分ですね。そこの、アスリート支援を行っているフィットバイオミクスですとか、あとはハードウェア、ちょっと珍しいんですが、ハードウェアで一つのディスプレイで見る人から、によっては全く違う映像を映し出すことができるという。しかも何も、メガネとか特殊なものはかけずに、裸眼といいますか何も直接見ることでそういうふうになるというようなディスプレイを持っているミス・アプライド・サイエンシス。こういったところが、最終的に採択させていただきました。で、その12社に対して3ヶ月間にわたって様々な角度から事業支援を行ったんですが、この写真はそれに先立ちまして、12社全社にサンフランシスコに集まっていただきまして、それぞれ3ヶ月間でどういったような方向で事業支援を行うかというようなすり合わせ会をやった時の写真なんですが、キックオフイベントの写真です。でその後3ヶ月間インテンシブに事業支援を行いまして、で、8月にその発表の場として、サンフランシスコのオラクルパークですね。これサンフランシスコジャイアンツのホームグラウンドなんですが、ここで、運よく晴れまして、デモデーを行いました。ちょうどこの、客席の内側ですね、この屋内部分にステージを設置して、スクラムと、電通のメンバーが入ったりとか、あとはその最終採択した12社のスタートアップがですね、この3ヶ月間の成果をそれぞれプレゼンテーションしたいですとか、はい。 大体この日は、300から400ぐらいの、方に集まっていただきました。日本から行った方もいますし、現地、アメリカの有力な投資家ですとか、メディア、スポーツビジネス関係者の方にお集まりいただきました。これがその時のフォトセッションの写真ですね。後ろにちょっとこれ合成じゃないんですが、スポーツテク東京のロゴをスクリーンに映してもらって撮りました。で、当日は発表だけではなくて、スポーツテク東京に関わってくれたスタートアップの方にブースを設置していただきまして、この場でも新しい商談ですとか、新しいビジネス的な出会いが生まれるようなイベントを行いました。おかげさまで現地のメディアですとか、また日本のメディアの、日本からも何社かメディアの方が来ていただいて、で、露出をしていただきました。初年度ながら、なかなか最初はスポーツテク東京という言葉自体が、誰も知らない状態だったんですけれども、非常に結果的には、うまくいきまして、初年度ながら、なかなかのインパクトを残せたと思っています。で、ここまでがですね、このちょうど真ん中にあるワールドデモで、8月に行ったものなんですが、前半の、スタートアップに応募していただいて、その中から選考させていただきまして、途中段階でもビジネスマッチングを行いまして、で、その中から最終採択をした12社に対して、インテンシブな事業支援を行いまして、成果発表を8月にデモデーとして行ったと、ここまでの前半の事業開発ラウンドのご説明になります。で、繰り返しになりますが、ここで終わらないのが一つのこのスポーツテク東京の特徴でもあったりします。この後後半でその12社が発表した内容について実際にスポーツチームとかですね、そういった方とご協力しながら POC ですとか技術実証を行っていく、導入支援を行っていくというラウンドに入ります。こちらについては今日もう一人参加してもらっている同じチームの安武君からご説明してもらいたいと思います。
はい、はい、安武です。はい。私の方ではですね、プログラム全体を支援はさせていただいてたんですが、どちらかというと最後の方、その実証ラウンドの方を、私の方でも支援を、主にさせていただいておりました。ちょっとですね、資料を上げたいのですが、ちょっと待ってね、なぜか。自分が上げたい資料が出てこないという。
こういう時、白石君がつないでくれるので。
そうですよね。
こんな役割でしたっけ
小倉さん、これも全部昨日リハーサル通りなんで。
なんか芸が出るんですか、じゃあ。いい感じの。朝7時26分。
これあれですね、Wi-Fi が切れて止まってるふりですね。
あ、そういうやつ。固まったってやつ。
ないのに固まったふりをする。
固まったネタですか。動いてるし。
一回使っちゃうともう使えなくなっちゃうやつですよね。
そう。
まだ使わない。
ちょっとですね、はい、いいですか。ちょっと資料がですね、
出てこない。出てきてますね。
出てこないので、もう口頭でちょっとお話しさせていただければなと思います。はい。はい。で、我々この新しいビジネスだったり、新しいその競争を生み出すっていうところを、もちろんこのプログラムでは最終的にフォーカスをさせていただいてたんですけど、そこにおいて、やっぱり一番大事だなと思う、ことを今4つちょっと挙げさせていただこうと思っております。で、ちょっと資料に本当は求めてたんですけど、ちょっと分かりづらくて恐縮なんですけど、はい。1点目がですね、まず活性化ラウンド。後半の活性化ラウンドを設けたっていうのが、ポイントです。はい。で、我々このスポーツテク東京を立ち上げにあたって、このプログラムでは事業開発支援から、スポーツの現場での実証実験、社会実装まで行うと事前に宣言して、リソースも確保してきました。普段オープンイノベーションとかプラットフォームビジネスとか、非常に最近は活発に、出ている言葉だと思うんですけど、やっぱりですね、アクセラレーションプログラムでアイデアの種だけを作っていく。それももちろん大事なんですけど、それをやっぱりスポーツでいうと、その現場で実際に試して、それが本当にフィジビリティがあるのかどうかってところを見るところはやっぱり大事で、 なので、もちろんアイデアを作った上で、プログラムの後にやればいい話なんですけど、やっぱりそこまでやっぱりコミットしていないとなかなか、リソースだったりも、確保できないので、事前にやっぱりコミットさせていただいてたところが、非常に我々としても、多くのビジネスだったり、競争の、数を生み出すことにつながったのかなと思っております。っていう1点目が活性化ラウンドを設けたっていう話ですね。で、2つ目がですね、今回やっぱりスポーツテック東京なので、テクノロジーを、フォーカスさせていただいてたんですけど、やっぱりテクノロジーを、使って新しいビジネスだったり、競争を生み出すっていうのも、やっぱりそこにおいて、社会にはやっぱり様々なやっぱ課題があって、そこの課題、っていうのにやっぱりフォーカスしていくっていうのが非常に重要だなと、やりながらそれは思いました。やっぱりそのテクノロジーベースでこういう新しいテクノロジーがあるから、それをどこどこに導入しようっていう話になったときに、やっぱりそれだと、絶対になくてはならないものにならないんですよね。なので、やっぱり課題があって、で、その課題に合わせてそのテクノロジーを導入していく。なので、この短い期間でも、今回いろんな方々に参加していただいて、その方々のまず課題を把握する、棚卸しする。で、そこにおいて、手段としてテクノロジーを導入していくということを、やっていくというところが、非常に大変でもあり、やっぱり重要な点だなと思ってました。で、3つ目がですね、多様性。で先ほど薬師の方からも、様々な方々にご参加いただいたっていう話をさせていただいてたんですけど、で、やっぱりその様々な方々に参加いただくってところがやっぱりミソで、今後やっぱり、こういう、僕らも今回やってみてもそうなんですけど、新しいビジネスが生み出されるっていうところは、やっぱり、予定された中でこう生み出されるというよりは、もう、人がたくさんいて、その新しい、そうですね、コミュニティの中で、突然生まれてくるっていうのが、やっぱりあって、今回のプログラムの中でもですね、先ほどミーティングを500セットしたって話をしたと思うんですけど、商談が500やった中で、もともとこの人とマッチングされたいっていう要望をもとにこうやったんですけど、それ以外にももちろん全体を合わせる上で、我々がもうこの人とこの人は合うんじゃないかという、勝手にセットしたものもあるんですけど、どちらかというとですね、後者の方が、うまくビジネスが生まれる、ことが多くて、やっぱり予定された中で、よりは、予期せぬ中で生まれる。そういう意味でも、コミュニティの中でその多様性っていうのは非常に重要だなという。っていうのが3点目の多様性ですね。で、最後がですね、スピード。で、もちろんこの、限られた中なので、限られた期間の中の1年の中なので、その中で、実際にそのスタートアップのテクノロジーを、導入していくっていうのも、フィジビリティも見ないといけないし、課題も見ないといけないしって中で、もう短い中で PDCA を回していくっていう、っていうことがやっぱり重要でした。重要というよりはもう、とにかくもう、ずっと考えるというよりは、とにかくやってみるっていうことで、スピード重視でやらせていただきました。っていう4つ、他にももちろんあるんですけど、1点目が、繰り返しになりますけど、活性化ラウンドを設けたこと。で、2点目がですね、課題、重視、課題ドリブン。テクノロジーはもちろん大事なんですけど、課題ドリブン。で、3つ目が、多様性。で、4つ目がスピードを重視して、とにかくやってみるってことで、進めていったっていうのが、新しいビジネスだったり競争を生み出す上で、非常に重要だなという我々が思った点、ですね。サマリーになります。で、それ以外にですね、もちろんじゃあ具体的にどんなビジネスが生まれたのっていう話をさせていただきたかったんですけど、薬師さん、さっきの資料の、スタートアップのページだけ表示していただいてもいいですか？何も見ずに多分、見せずに話すと、よりイメージが湧かなくなると思うので、スタートアップのページだけでも表示できればなと。
見えてますか？
今回ですね、 スタートアップ自体はですね、300社、約300社のスタートアップが応募していただき、もちろん33カ国から集まって、で、最終的に12社に絞ったものの、パーティシパントといわれる参加者になるスタートアップは159社、採択させていただきました。で、もちろんこの12社にフォーカスして、ビジネス実証だったり実装を進めてきたんですけど、それ以外の159社に関しても、もちろん、ビジネスについては生まれております。で、ちょっと簡単に一つ一つ、実際に具体的なビジネスについてお話しさせていただくとですね、まず左上の 4D リプレイさんに関しては、もともと、非常に、素晴らしいテクノロジーだってビジネスを持たれていて、で、もう NBA でも、そもそも導入されていたりとかするんですけど、我々のこの、プログラムを経てですね、昨年の末かな、今年の頭か、FC 東京さんで実際に実装させていただきました。はい。あとはですね、資料が閉じられたみたいですね。はい。その横にあったエジソン AI っていう会社なんですけど、インドの会社なんですけど、あそこに関してはですね、試合を皆さんこうスマホとかで見てると思うんですけど、そこにおいてですね、選手だったりに、カーソルを合わせると、その選手の、ステータスだったりが、スコアリングがすぐに出てくるだったり、その選手のアイテムだったり、何かグッズを買いたかったらすぐにその EC で買うことができるっていうものなんですけど、非常に見てる方からすると、素晴らしい UI、UX なんですけど、で、このテクノロジーをですね、つい直近なんですけど、ここに、スポーツテック東京のパートナーになっている CBC さん通じてですね、横浜 FC で、導入をさせていただいております。はい。で、右側のピクセロットに関しては、先ほど薬師からも説明があった通り、自動で、カメラを、4つのカメラで、編集から、配信までできるんですけど、これに関してはもともと日本でも、いくつか導入されていたんですけど、今回の実証を経てですね、今、NTT 西日本さんと、あとは、朝日新聞さんの方で、新しくやった NTT スポリティクス、っていう会社を、作られてるんですけど、そこでも、我々スポーツテック東京がですね、サポートをさせていただいたりします。はい。あとは、B リーグの、秋田の、ノーザンブリッツの、ホームグラウンドにもですね、導入をさせていただいております。はい。あとはですね、時間もあれなので、簡単にここだけやると、スポーツキャスターさんですね。スポーツキャスターに関して誰でもキャスターになれるというものなんですけど、これに関してもですね、ビッグ6 TV、6大野球ですね。で、実際に、導入してですね、やらせていただいたりしてました。はい。はい。で、次のページのものに関してもちょっといろいろお話はしたいんですけど、多分時間もあれなので、一旦ここまでで、はい。私のターンは、終えましょうか。はい。
佐々木さん、ありがとうございます。小倉さん、このあたりまでが一旦スポーツテック東京のこれまでっていうところでいきますと、ご説明になるんですけれども、この後のちょっと進行も含めて、一度ボールをお渡しさせていただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
本当1年ですごい数の、なんていうんですかね、スタートアップもそうですし、ああいう、ミートアップというか、500の、ミートアップセッションを作って、その中から新しいビジネスが生まれたりとかっていう、すごく、面白い取り組みだなと思いますし、やっぱり東京初の、プラットフォームでありながら、国内の企業だけではなくて、やっぱり世界中からそういう、スタートアップを集めてやられてるっていうところに、すごいこの、なんていうんですかね、規模の大きさを感じますし、そういう部分では、まだ1年目、これから 今2年目に入るところだと思うんですけど、今後、やっぱり、2019年ラグビー、2020年延期にはなってしまいましたけど、東京2020オリンピック・パラリンピック、で、2021年に、ワールドマスターズゲームスだったりとか、世界水泳があると。そういう中で、この3年っていうのはすごく、日本国内でも、スポーツ、あれ、何でしたっけ？スポーツ、ちょっと眠くなってきて、頭が働くなってきて。あれ、日本のあれですよね。スポーツ、ゴールデンスポーツイヤーだ。
はい。
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 と呼ばれてますけど、やっぱりこのタイミングでやるっていうことにすごく、意味を持たれてるんですかね。これ、白石さんですね。
そうですね。まさに、おっしゃる通りでして、本プロジェクト自体はそのスポーツテック東京と銘打ちまして、スポーツをある種中心にして進めているものではあるんですけれども、もともとこのプロジェクトを立ち上げるに至った前提として、スポーツは何かをやりたいっていうことで始めたプロジェクトではないんですね。あくまでビジネスとして大きなチャンスがある領域だと思ったがために始まったプロジェクトではありますので、そういう意味ではそのゴールデンイヤーも含めた大きなビジネスチャンスがあると思って始めているものです。なので、ワールドワイドでプログラムをさせていただいているっていうところはあるんですけれども、各社の大きな期待としては、東アジアのゲートウェイですとか、東アジア全体にあるそのビジネスチャンスを掘っていく一つの拠点としてのスポーツテック東京っていうのをすごく意識していただいていて、そこが、なんていうか、僕らとしては特徴ですし、これから伸ばしていきたいところでもあるというところですね。なんで、国内の皆様とやっていくっていうことでいきますと、その海外からの、外からの視点っていうのも少し我々の方からインプットさせていただきながら、ビジネス機会自体をどんどん拡張したいなというふうに思っているという感じでございます。
すごくその東アジアにおけるゲートウェイになるっていうのは僕も素晴らしいなと思ってるんですけど、なんかアジアの中で逆にスポーツテックが盛んな都市だったりとか、そういうところって他にあったりするんですかね。
今回はその募集の対象から少しいろんな背景もあって外れてしまっているところはあるんですけれども、やっぱりその中国とかは非常に進んでいるなっていうのは思います。で、進んでいるというのは、なんて言うんでしょう、導入の量といいますか、トライアルの量がすごいなっていうところはあるんですけども、これはなんか評価をするということではなくて、一方で本当の意味で実装されているかっていうのはまだ中国に限らず、ワールドワイドでもなかなか進みきっていない部分もいい意味であると思うんですね。なので、そこの先端に東京としてそういう都市になれればいいなというのは思っているところです。
そういう意味ではやっぱり先ほどその実装する、先の、協業相手というか、様々なその競技団体だったりとか、競技大会も当然たくさんありますし、そういう、事業提携先がすでに用意されているっていうのはやっぱりこのプログラムの特徴なんですかね。
そうですね。とてもメリットの一つとして意識していただいているところではあると思います。なんていうんですかね、スポーツビジネスの拡張みたいなことを我々も申し上げたりするんですけども、拡張するステップというか方法として2つあると思ってまして、1つが、スポーツ界にあるものが拡張していくっていうお話と、もう一つはスポーツの外にある隣接産業だったり、飛び地の産業の方々がスポーツを利用するっていう大きく2方向あると思うんですね。で、今の日本の状況を考えると、後者のその外側の方々がいかに中に入っていくのかっていう視点も結構重要だと思ってるんですが、それを実際に実現していくためには、ビジネス上の期待値の調整みたいな部分っていうのは結構重要だと思うんですね。ここがなかなかなされなかったというのが、近年だったりすると思いますので、ここの期待値の調整みたいな、ビジネス上の期待値調整っていうところを我々は一つバルブとしてできればいいなと思って進めているというのがあります。
なるほど、なるほど。そういう意味ではすごく興味深い、ニュースというかですね、先週ですかね、スポーツ庁さんと、スポーツテック東京さんの方で、新しい、プロジェクトが立ち上がるというニュースが、出てるのを拝見したんですけど、イノベーションリーグ という取り組みだと思うんですけど、これはどういう、取り組みなんですかね。
ありがとうございます。ちょっとそちらのイノベーションリーグの方も、先ほどご説明させていただいた薬師寺と安武と2人で進めている部分もある、みんなで進めている部分もあるので、一旦じゃあちょっとここの全体の説明のところ、薬師寺さん、いいですか。
はい、ボールが飛んできましたね。
はい。ざっくりと言いますと、スポーツ庁さんも、スポーツオープンイノベーション、プラットフォームということで、SOIP という、スポーツを使ってイノベーションを作り出していこうという、で、先ほどの、様々な業界の、プレイヤーを巻き込んで、スポーツをより、なんでしょうね。まあ、いい意味で、使っていこうという、取り組みをされていまして、で、ちょっとまあ、目指すところという意味では、スポーツテック東京も、まあ、同じところを目指しているので、どちらかというと、スポーツテック東京はグローバルで、まあ、日本国外に、まあ、強いといいますか、強みを持つ、プログラムで、で、スポーツ庁さんは当然、スポーツの日本でおける行政の一丁目一番地なので、まあ、そこの、強みを持ち寄って、今年、は、共同開催を、したらどうかというような発想で、イノベーションリーグというものを、話しました。よく例に出して言うんですけども、パリーグとセリーグが集まって日本シリーズをやるみたいな、まあ、そういうような発想で、スポーツ庁さんがやられている、プログラムとスポーツテック東京がそれぞれ、まあ、タッグを組んでですね、今年は一つのアクセラレーションプログラム、をやっていこうということを、考えています。で、あと、この話、メインは、まあ、アクセラレーションプログラムなんですが、今年から、コンテスト、イノベーションリーグコンテストというものも、作りまして、これは賞というと賞ですね。まあ、今、我々としては嬉しいことに、スポーツの中ですとか、スポーツビジネス界隈で、新しい、取り組みですとか、チャレンジがたくさん行われてますので、こういったものを、まだまだ世の中の人が知らないものを、きちんと表彰させていただこうというような発想の、いわゆる、まあ、賞です。これが、まあ、大きく分けると、そのアクセラレーションプログラムと、コンテストと2本柱になっていて、で、なんか内部事情で言いますと、アクセラの方は、ここにいる安武君が、まあ、リードしてて、で、コンテストの方は私の方がやらせていただいているというふうになっています。補足があればお願いします。
白石さん、なんか資料出しますこれ。
今、先日のリリースだけちょっと映させていただいた方が分かりやすいかなと思いまして。はい。ちょっとごめんなさい。これ自体にそんなに意味はないんですけど。はい、ちっちゃいですね。これちょっと大きくなりましたかね。
なりました、なりました。
はい、ちょっとこれをちょっと受けつつ、はい。安家さんの方でも少しお話をいただければ。
まあ、そうですね。ウェブページも、専用ウェブページも用意してますので、もちろんそちらでも、詳細は確認はできるんですけど、一応ですね、今、8月の6日にですね、説明会の方を今予定しておりまして、もちろん、今回、ご応募いただきたい、アクセラレーションの方でいうと、スタートアップだったり、あとは、もちろん、大企業だったり、中小企業の中での、プロジェクトだったり、プロジェクトチームも応募できるので、その方々にも参加をいただきたいんですけど、それ以外にも、後半の方でもセッションだったり、ミートアップも用意してますので、ご興味があられる方はぜひご参加いただきたいですね。はい。っていう、すみません、ちょっと簡単な補足になってしまったんですが。はい。
さっき僕がお話し忘れちゃったんですが、今回はバレーボール協会さん、日本バレーボール協会さんと 3x3.x プレミア、さん、いわゆる 3on3 のプロリーグなんですが、この2つの団体が連携先として、先ほどのスポーツテック東京と同じ構図なんですが、アイデアを出して終わりではなくて、こちらの団体さんにご協力いただいて、実際に検証ですとか、実証をしていこうというような作品です。はい、で、ついでに私のコンテストもちょっとご説明をしたいのですが、白石君、ちょっと下の方に行っていただいていいですか。はい、ずっと下ですね。はい、この辺はコンテスト、アクセラの方で、はい。今年から初めてやるんですが、 このスポーツ、もしくはスポーツビジネス関係の、新しい取り組みとか、勇敢果敢な取り組みを表彰していこうというものです。で、4つ賞を用意してますので、ぜひ皆さん、なんでしょうね、なかなか目先のことといいますか、目下大変なことをやられている方ほど、こういう、PR ってなかなか手が回らなくて、すごくいい取り組みをされている方とか、それを見ながら知れば後に続くようなことっていうのもたくさんあると思うんですね。例えば今日このイベントも、どなたかが多分24時間やってみようよっていうことを、やって、いやいやと言わずに、これでやってみようっていうことを多分やられたからこそ、いろんな方の出会いがあると思うので、そういったものも含めて、新しい取り組みとかですね、スポーツだからこそできるものとかっていうものをぜひお寄せいただきたいと思っています。具体的には、応募は一つというか一区分なんですが、その中で、4つ賞を想定してまして、で、1つ目がイノベーションリーグ大賞っていう、一番の軸となる賞で、これはもうこの全体の、スポーツが持つ産業拡張力とか、オープンイノベーション力ですね。こういったものの事例を、一番、審査していただいて、決めようと思っています。で、あとは、ビジネスとしてはなかなかじゃあ、マーケットがとかいうことではないんですが、やっぱりこれ SDGs とか昨今、どんなことをやるのに対しても、関わってくることですので、その社会的な価値を生み出しているもの、これをソーシャルインパクト賞として、表彰したいと思っています。あとは、スポンサーシップの新しい形ということで、最近いろんな、スポーツチームの、スポンサーを、協賛をやられている企業さんが、その協賛権を、面白いといいますか、ユニークな形で、活用されている例もありますので、そういったものをアクティベーション賞として表彰したいと思っています。で、最後はちょっと、特殊なんですが、パイオニア賞ということで、勇猛果敢な、まさにこの24時間やってみようみたいなことで、コロナとかこういう時代だからこそ、いろんなことでちょっと大変な思いをされている方もたくさんいると思うんですが、そのピンチをチャンスにしようとして、いろんなアプローチがあると思うんですが、これまでなかった取り組みを、いいチャンスだとして、チャレンジしているようなものを表彰したいと思っています。これスポーツ庁さんの名のもとに、表彰しますので、ぜひ、いろんなことをやられている方は、これを通じて、お知りになった方も含めて、応募いただきたいと思っています。はい。今年中、ずっと応募は開いてますので、こちらの、アクセラの方は少し早めに、募集を閉じてしまうんですが、今年は多分これからもいろんなチャレンジをされる方がいると思いますので、そういったものを全部、応募できるように、12月の31日まで、募集してますので、ぜひ、ご興味ある方はお願いします。
白石さん、上の方のアクセラの方の、ちょっとだけ補足していいですか。はい、ちょっとここまでコンテストの補足をされると、僕も、はい、アクセラの方を、はい、一応。
仲良くやって
ざるを得ない。
どのあたりチームでやってますから。
はい。で、はい。アクセラの方はですね、ちょっと、先ほど、はい、薬師の方からも話があったので、バレーボール協会さんと 3x3 のリーグさんの方に、今回、はい、コラボレーションパートナーとして、はい、ご参加いただくんですけど、一応、スタートアップだったり、企業さん、団体さんが応募いただくテーマとしては、それぞれ今ここに書いて、ちょっと詳細まで話をしてしまうと時間がなくなってしまう。はい、書いてあるものに関して、基本的には、はい、応募いただきたいなと思って。で、基本的にはかなり広めの、はい、話なので、様々なテクノロジーを持たれている、サービスを持たれている、はい、企業さんに応募いただけるかなと思っております。で、応募期間自体もですね、もう始まっておりまして、9月の11日、まで、はい、応募しておりますので、ぜひ、どしどしと応募いただければなと思っています。で、詳細は先ほど話をした8月の、はい、上旬の、はい、6日に、はい、説明会をやりますので、そこでも、はい、お話をさせていただければと思っています。よろしくお願いします。はい。
いや、ぜひ、ここ聞いてくださってる方の中で応募してくれる人が一人でも増えると嬉しいですね。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
先ほどのコンテスト、賞の方は我々も認めていただけるのであれば、ぜひ応募したいです。
もちろんです。ぜひお願いします。
でも、小倉さんのことなんで、これから先もいろんなことを仕掛けられるんじゃないかなって。
次は48時間とかされるんですね。
48時間来ました、48時間。
48時間。
やばい、それ。 48時間やったことある人いなそうですよね、でもね。
多分いないと思いますね。はい。どの章に当てはまるのかちょっと難しいところもあると思うんですけど。
パイオニアで。
パイオニアなのか。はい。でもちょっと考えます。
逆にこういう人だと、なんかやってみようっていう方も逆に逆算して生まれるかなと思って。
そうですよね。
それが、すごく日本全国でそれが数があると、やっぱりいいものも、後に残るものも出てくると思うので、
そうですね。
ぜひ感じていただきたいと思います。
ありがとうございます。ちょっと時間もだいぶ押してきてはいるんですけど、最後ですね、今やっぱりこういう、また昨日東京都内の感染者が増えてきてしまっているという状況もあるんですけど、ここ数ヶ月、皆さんも結構在宅で勤務されている方も多いと思うんですけど、こういう状況の中でですね、スタートアップ、スポーツテック業界が、どのようなインパクトを受けているのかとか、また逆に、こういう状況の中で、スポーツ界にどのように、スポーツテックの力が、貢献できるのか、ちょっとそのあたりを、皆さんからご意見伺いたいなと思うんですけど、白石さんよろしいですか？
はい、ありがとうございます。まさにこういう COVID、コロナっていうのは、誰も予想がしていなくて、今まだ、凄惨たる状況というのは続いているところではあるんですけれども、それでも時間は進んでいくみたいなことで申し上げますと、やっぱりこれは機会として捉えざるを得なかったり、本当にその機会として、ある部分においては有用なところもあったりするので、ここはきちんと活用していきたいなというふうには考えて、皆さんと一緒に活用したいなとは思っております。その部分で申し上げますと、先ほどそのファイナリストの一社に AI カメラを取り扱われているピクセロットさんみたいなお話とかもありましたけれども、こういった会社さんの実装ですとか実例っていうのもどんどん膨らんできていたりしますし、また別の側面でいくと、投げ銭といいますか、ギフティングといいますか、これまで構想としてはあったものをなかなかその実装化に進まなかったものっていうのも、昨今進んでいる状況っていうのはあると思うんですね。これがまた本当に定着をしていくのかみたいなところについては、まだこれから少し議論であったり、試行錯誤っていうのはあると思うんですけれども、いずれにしてもこういう今までなかった機会っていうのがどんどん生まれてきている状況ではあると思いますので、ここは皆さんとしっかりあるものはあるものとして捉えて、トライをしていきたいなと僕らとしては思っています。
ありがとうございます。お二方、いかがですかね？薬師寺さん。
はい。実は、こういう、なんでしょうね、先ほどのピンチをチャンスにじゃないですけれども、意外にこれまで、なかなか進まなかったものが、こういうある種の、なんですかね、必要に迫られることで、一気に進んでいったりとかしてます。で、この程度の問題、これまではこのくらいしか、普及がなかったけど、一気にこう、拡散、普及してきたっていうことだけではなくて、例えばこう、別の、ものに使ってたものが、スポーツにも使えるんじゃないかとか、逆にスポーツで、もともと想定したものが、このコロナの感染拡大とか、人の集まり具合の判定とかに使えるんじゃないかとか、あとはなんかスタジアムはもともと今スマート化していこうっていうふうになりましたが、このスマートのところに安全とか、こういうコロナの毎日のリスク対応みたいなことがこう含まれてくる。そういった意味では、結構その、テクノロジーとかを持たれている企業の方の活用の場が広がっているような感じがするんですね。あとは先ほどの投げ銭などもそうですけれども、なかなかこれまではあるものはしてても手を出しづらかった方もいらっしゃると思うんですが、ああいうのもやっぱり1社、2社、チームですね、やっと一気に広がったりとかして、世の中がそういうものだとかいいじゃんっていうふうに、世の中の価値観の方が変わっていくってことがあり得ると思うんですね。そういったものが、この COVID、いつか終わると思うんですが、収束、終わる方の収束した後に、レガシーとしてある種ね、残るといいんじゃないかなというふうに個人的に思います。
ありがとうございます。最後、じゃあ、安武さん、締め言っていただけますか？
はい。ちょっとここで締めれるかどうかはちょっと不安なんですけど、でも先ほどのコロナの話で言うと、僕の話の中でも話させていただいた4つのポイントの中の課題ドリブンっていうところが非常に、そうかなと思っていて、やっぱりこのコロナって中で、試合ができないだったり、あとは感染、 しに行けないっていう、話があると思うんですけど、やっぱりそこにおいて、やっぱりテクノロジーが生きる。だからそのコロナという中での課題に対してテクノロジーが生きるってことで、薬事の話もあった通り、これからどんどん、やっぱり、なんですかね、テクノロジーの多分導入が進んでいくと思うんです。今も進んでますし、先ほど投げ銭の話で言うと、狼さんが、スポーツテク東京のパーティシパントにもあった狼さんが、鹿島アントローズさんをはじめ、いろんなところで多分導入してますし、あとは、人の場所がわかるっていうところで言うと、もともとはトイレだったり、飲食店の混雑状況がわかる、テクノロジーを持ってたバカンさんとか、あとは、先ほどのスポーツキャスターに関しても、NBA でも今使われてたりしますし、なので、これからどんどんやっぱりそういうテクノロジーが導入、されていくところを、より我々のネットワークだったり、ノウハウだったりで、サポートしていければなと思っておりまして、まさにやっぱりこの中なので、イノベーションリーグ、で、よりそれをドリブンさせていければなと思っております。はい。
ありがとうございます。綺麗にまとめていただいて、最後しっかりイノベーションリーグにもつなげていただいて。
はい。イノベーションリーグよろしくお願いします。ちょっとテレビの方はここってやりたいんですけど、はい。そういうテレっぽいないので、はい、すみません。
ぜひぜひ、ちょっと皆さんご覧いただいている方たち、方々、イノベーションリーグの方、ぜひ、ご覧いただければなと思います。なんかこんなコメント来てますね。これで48時間頑張れば、賞をいただけるかもしれないので、検討したいと思います。
生命力の問題かも。
審査員は私ではなくて、ちゃんと。
関係ないんじゃないかっていう。そうすると全然関係ない。すいません。本当、早朝からありがとうございました。この後ですね、この後も我々のこのHiVE続くんですけど、この次のセッションがなんとアダム・ジョーンズ選手が登場するというセッションになっておりますので、ぜひ皆さんもご興味あればご覧いただければなと思います。一回こちらのリンクがですね、切れるんですけど、また、次の3セッションのリンクの方でお楽しみいただければと思っております。すいません、本当朝早くから3人の皆さん、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ぜひ、スポーツテック東京、頑張ってください。よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございました。頑張ってください。
では、
ありがとうございました。